To the May 17th Legislative Committee meeting. We'll start by getting a motion to adopt the agenda. Council Lemko makes the motion. Is there any additions, deletions, or changes to the? No, there is none? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up, motion for the minutes of our last regular meeting. Councillor Warwell makes the motion. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. First up, Director Rowe.
Thank you, Worship. This is a letter from the Pride Week Planning Committee, attention to Mayor and Council. Proposal to celebrating the LGBTQ2S plus Pride Week during June 12th to 18th, 2022. The proposal comes from multiple organizations here in Vegreville, including Vegreville District Family Community Support Services, Vegal Drug Society, Mental Health Capacity Building, Vegreville District Chamber of Commerce, Vegreville Centennial Library, and Kalena Family Resource Network. We all believe that it is important for the town of Vegreville to recognize and stand for acceptance of the LGBTQ2S plus community members in Vegreville. For the purposes of our letter, we'll be referring to ourselves as the Pride Week Planning Committee. Background, Pride Month is currently celebrated each year in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan. The Stonewall Uprising was a tipping point for the gay liberation movement in the United States. In Alberta, the first Pride celebration was held in Edmonton in 1980, became a week-long festival in 1983. Since then, Pride events have become more popular in urban centers, but unfortunately rural areas are struggling to show support for their LGBTQ2S+ community members. Looking at the Welcome, Inclusive, and Connected Community Survey that was completed from Vegreville District FCSS, there are 3 responses that can be addressed if the town of Vegreville decides to take part in Pride Week this year. Lack of support is the main reason that the LGBTQ2S+ community members would leave Vegreville. The lack of acceptance for minorities in Vegreville, including the LGBTQ2S+, the need for Vegreville to become more progressive. While most of the participants in this survey are adults, it's important to note that both A.L. Horton Elementary School and Vegreville Composite High School have gay-straight alliances with regular attendees. It is important and desperately needed because the LGBTQ2S+ youth face approximately 14 times the risk of suicide and substance abuse than their CIS gendered and heterosexual peers. Studies show that key factors for positive mental health and well-being for LGBTQ2S+ individuals include support from family and friends, particularly youth, supportive workplaces and neighborhoods. By celebrating Pride this year, the town of Vegreville will be showing these young children and teens that their community supports them and cares for them, thus creating an accepting community in which they will all want to remain even after they graduate. Communication strategy. As per last year, the Pride Week Planning Committee will do all the advertising via social media. We ask that the town of Vegreville shares the posts on their social media and town of Vegreville website calendar. Social media posts will be created by different members of the Pride Week Planning Community. To educate people on LGBTQ2S+ matters, the post will consist of explaining what gay-straight alliances are, the differences between the pride flags and the importance of each, different mental health facts including statistics concerning suicide and drug addiction within the community, the importance of pronouns and gender identity. The recommendation, we appreciate the town of Vegreville's support last year in celebrating Pride Week here in Vegreville. The hopes is that we can continue to become an annual event, which would include every year raising the Pride flag at the town administration office during June 12th to 18th, 2022, and painting the Main Street intersection crosswalks to match the Pride flag. Thank you very much for your consideration in this matter. We look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Kristen McSween on behalf of the Pride Planning Committee.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Warlow.
Thank you. So obviously a big thank you to these guys who've done a lot of work and spoke with a lot of people on it. One of the considerations that I had was in regards to the flags being flown, and I have no issue with potentially flying the flag. We had said last time that we really wanted a flag policy so that we were applying the same standard to everybody and it wasn't, a pick and choose. So I am happy to see that we do have a draft policy in place that we will be working on. So I think that's great. The only one point for me that I kind of have for consideration at this time was they mentioned the two areas of town, our two sign areas, and then I believe our administration building as well. My preference would be to see at the two entry spots, only for the simple reason that there is the 4 flagpoles there, and typically with us only having 3 here, I think that, we've had the town one and provincial and federal. I know right now we do have a Ukrainian flag flying, but, I'd like to see the flag policy get into place so that we know particularly where they are and we're not picking and choosing. And when we did raise the flag just recently for the Truth and Reconciliation, we chose to do it at those entry points. So I think that I will be strongly recommending as we get into the flag policy that we make those our 2 standard community spots. So I'd like to see them on those 2 ends. And I also think that actually it will show very good visibility because the west side is well within town limits. So you definitely will see it in that location. And if they have the crosswalk potentially in the same location, I'm assuming, as the previous year.
Yes, that's correct. The one.
So we will have some of the visibility right in front of the administration building. So I don't have any issues. That would just be one of my considerations because I believe it's something that could end up in our flag policy. So I think it might be a reasonable step. I hate to say let's do this year and then next year look like we're doing something lesser than. So if there is intention that maybe those are our 2 community flag locations, I would maybe consider suggesting that. That's all I have.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead, Councilor Riddick.
I don't have any concerns at all, and I'm actually happy that they've come back. I just crossing this last week in front of the town office and noticed how poorly the paint lasts. So I'm glad that we're going to be brightening it up again and making sure that we acknowledge all the people that live in Vegreville with this very visible display of support. And I think it's important to note too the number of people that reached out to me personally last year, both business owners, adults, and kids. And it may not seem like a big deal, but it was a big deal. So I really appreciate that we're taking this action and be able to support them.
Go ahead, Councilor Lemko.
Yes, I too support the flags on both ends of the community and the sidewalk. I note one item here where they referred in their letter in the background. They're looking at the Welcoming, Inclusive, and Connected Community Survey that was completed by the Vegreville District FCSS. And in that, they identify some points that they wrote in their letter. That Welcoming, Inclusive survey has a report, and I think it'd be important for us to look into that report to capture the items that are in there that relate to not just this group of individuals, but other group of individuals in the community. So I think there's some need for us to dive into that part a little bit more than we have in the past.
Your Worship, thank you, Councillor Emco, and I can certainly have that report sent to council to review again. We do have 2 new councillors that probably wouldn't have seen that report, so I'll get on that as soon as we're done.
Hey, Councilor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm in support and in agreement with what has been said thus far. I just have a question. At either of those locations, east and west, we have 4 poles, and we're currently flying 4 flags. So we would have to recognize that for that week, we would be removing 1 flag and replacing it with the pride flag.
Yes, so that's correct. So there's 4 flags, and the way the policy that I have presented right now, it would be Canada, Alberta, Vegreville, and then another Canadian flag in the absence of a Canadian flag and at council's discretion through the policy. So currently we have the Ukrainian flag up there, and if this is approved, the pride flag would go up there for the balance of 1 week, and then the Ukrainian flag could go back up at council's discretion again. So.
Okay. So we'll see this come. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Bullock.
Hi. Yes, I do support this going forward as well, and I'd look forward to that report, because, yeah, you're right, I haven't had a chance to see that one. So, that's it.
Why do you apologize? Just say, can I be next? Okay, Councillor Rudick.
I'm just wondering too that, because there are two new counselors, last year, one of the parts that I thought was really impactful for this committee was bringing forward the comments and the impressions of the students in each of the alliances, talking about how important it was to them to be recognized by the community, and that mayor and council, as well as the wider community, hear their concerns. And it wasn't revealing any personal details, but it was more the mental health capacity building coaches sharing some of those thoughts with council. So maybe if it's possible to maybe just mention that to the organizing committee, if there's a way for us to be able to have that education piece again. I found that personally very moving, and I know that there's a couple on council that weren't a part of that last year, and it was a nice addition to be able to not only be visibly supporting, but also have a better understanding, which is part of that whole welcome and inclusive initiative, is actually understanding and implementing that kind of change in each of our personal behaviors and the way that we move forward.
So I do believe that they are working on that this year. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure I heard that they were going to do that same project again.
Councillor Whirlwind.
I did have one thing I forgot to ask. I had noticed in their letter too that they noted about explaining the difference between the different flags. Did they indicate whether they're wanting us to fly just one flag throughout, or whether they would want us to change flags? And then I guess we just have to, in their letter themselves, they were asking about the admin office versus the two locations.
I believe it's just the generic pride flag that will be flown, same as last year, because we still have them on stock from last year.
Okay, so when we're reading this, like, I know the LGBTQ2S plus community. Can we shorten that up to just say the pride community? I mean, we have to say that every time we read that? Because that can be a bit of a tongue twister trying to get going here. And the other thing that I want to bring up, so they're asking us to run different social media posts on our site. So will that be accompanied by these views represent the pride community? Because the town of Vegreville is not telling somebody the importance of pronouns and gender identity. It's coming from somebody else, right? I mean, we'll identify that.
So the posts will actually be from the Pride Planning Committee, and they're just asking us to share their so.
Okay, well, as long as that's the way it's coming, and because nobody here really knows all the technical information, so we can represent that we know what's going on here. So we'll share the post is what we'll do. Yep. Okay, so this will be at the next council meeting for a vote. So, okay, then let's move on to the flag protocol policy.
Thank you again, Your Worship. So you have in front of you today a memo, a draft flag policy, GOV 1003, and the current policy, GOV 1003. I'll just read through the memo. The town's existing flag policy, GOV 1003, flag protocol policy, was approved in 2018. Following the adoption of this policy, we've seen that there's a need for an addition of parameters around raising approved community flags. The existing flag policy is being revised and expanded to include practices and etiquette for national, provincial, municipal, and community flags. The following are the changes and additions being proposed. The purpose of the original policy considered the national flag exclusively. 2022 revisions focus on the strength of Vegreville's diversity and inclusivity by providing a method for community groups to display their approved flag on designated flagpoles. Related information, the Aquatic Fitness Center has been removed from the applicable locations for the national flag. Applicable locations for community flag raisings have been listed at the Vegreville signs on the east and west and the Vegreville Administration Building. Definitions added: banner, cause, community flagpoles, community group, flag half-mast, and municipal flagpole. Definitions from 2018 policy for national, provincial, and town flags have been included in the 2022 2022 flag policy under flag. Responsibilities were not revised. Service standards and expectations, as opposed to outlining each occasion of the half-masting of national and provincial flags. Section 5.1 of the draft flag policy refers to the appropriate federal and provincial protocols. Section 5 now outlines 9 specific dates in which the flags will be flown at half-mast and allows for additional occasions if directed by a majority vote of Town Council. Conditions have also been outlined for displaying flags in council chambers, at official events, or in the instance of visiting jurisdictions. Community flag raising, the new section outlines the considerations and policy for raising community flags within the town of Vegreville. The town will not fly flags representing political parties or religious groups in opposition to town guiding principles, intentions contrary to municipal policies and bylaws, intentions to defame the integrity of council or the municipality, or events organizations with no direct relationship to the municipality. Applications for community flag raisings will need to be approved by council. If a group or organization's flag has been approved by council within the past 5 years and the application is consistent with the flag protocol policy, the CAO may approve the flag raising and note it on the council agenda. Schedule A is the application for community flag raising and will be included as part of the flag protocol policy. The draft policy is attached, however, will be placed on the next legislative committee meeting on June 7th to allow council ample time to review the draft unless we wish to move forward today.
Okay, anybody got any comments? Everybody's happy with the new policy, the protocols that we're bringing forward? Everybody's read them? Okay, so we will bring this back to to the council meeting, and we'll move forward from there.
Are we not debating it at the ledge? That was the question
Well, I just asked anybody if they have any comments.
Then I
on that.
definitely do.
Okay, then let's start debating. That's just what we're doing, yeah.
Okay, so, two things. So for me, one of them was the municipal building for the community flags. I think that we should have them on the two ends, based upon the fact that there is only 3 poles here. So we would consistently and constantly be taking down either our town, provincial, or federal one every time. We haven't done it in the past. I do know the Ukrainian one is up there, but I would either like to see us saying that we intend to add a pole if we're going to leave it on as a community one, or see us remove that as one of the locations. That's my main reason why, because I feel like our municipal building itself is always the town of Vegreville. It's always the province of Alberta. It's always the country of Canada. So I don't really love always taking that down. The second part that I just wanted to didn't mean that, suggest that we might need to add on could potentially be just something in regards to whose responsibility it is for providing the flags and then for removal. So in some cases, a flag might be provided, they're quite expensive at times, and I don't know, are we willing to be retaining them to the following year, or does the person requesting have to pick it up in a timeline? So I'm just wondering if we want to consider adding those 2 sections.
So to answer that, the group that is asking to fly the flag, if it is approved, it is their responsibility to provide us a flag, and it has to still meet the flag guidelines of the national and provincial etiquettes. So it can't be torn. So they could either give us the flag, and the facilities department keeps all the flags safe and secure in their building. So if when we take it down, it is our responsibility to put them up and take them down. If they wish to keep it, then they will know that the flag has to be in good repair when it's flown here. So.
And that's good. I know that flags, actually, people think of them being inexpensive, but they can be quite expensive for replacement, and we wouldn't want to in some way return a flag to them or them see it a year later and in some way feel like we hadn't taken proper care of it. So that was just my concern around disposal.
Okay, so basically, the question that Councillor Rohr was bringing forward, do we want to take the building here off this list for a community flag? Go ahead, Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Worship. I'm actually kind of in agreement with that aspect of the municipal one, but I would wonder if we could do it as where it's not on unless council gives distinct approval for it. We may wish to fly, like the Ukrainian flag, a different nation on that flagpole at our office, unless we're putting up, as suggested, a fourth pole. So rather than it being a community one, it would be much the same as what the provincial government does when a dignitary comes to town. They put up that nation's flag. So
There's a provision in here for that, about when a dignitary comes to town. But I guess what the heart of this right now is, what are we gonna deem community flagpoles, where we'll show, the flag? So, what Councillor Roy was saying, that she wants to take this building off that list, because the pool is now off this list, just east and west. That's what she wants to represent. And anything, if we want to fly anything here as a council, if we have a meeting, we determine that that's where we're gonna do that, where we're gonna do. But for policy within the
policy.
community, so, if we got.
the second one there, just quickly before I move. Or do you want to finish this one?
I thought she had a comment, I know you were done, but go ahead.
I can wait on my second comment if you want to just address one at a time.
I just wanted to address this, what we're
Okay.
deeming a
I'll
community flagpole, the 3 locations, and this is what we're addressing, so.
So I appreciate that consistency is important, and I endorse that, but I would say that probably for consistency, I would prefer if we could have a fourth one put up here. I don't imagine it would be that costly, maybe difficult, maybe cumbersome to put up another flagpole, but I do feel like it is very visible at either end of town, but I also think it's very visible that this is our building and this is the core of the municipality. So if it's possible that for consistency, we're not taking down that third, or that if we could actually add one here, that would be my preference.
Your worship.
Yeah.
So council did approve in the 22 budget some flagpole replacement. I did have a discussion with the facilities foreman, and what the plan is to add the 2 flags. Because really what is very time consuming right now is every time they have to lower the flags, the Canadian and the provincial flags, is that they have to go up on the roof and they have to do a hazard assessment. They've got to tie off and everything. So these are 2 flagpoles that we're going to get added in front of the building. So I certainly could forego one of the other flagpoles that we're going to get changed and add a third, or put all 4 flags in front of the building, if that is. And then we would have 4 flagpoles in front of the town office.
Okay, so first of all, which ones were scheduled to be replaced?
So the 2 here, the post office and the one at the fire hall, are the ones that get lowered routinely with every time there's a flag notice, a half-mast notice comes down.
7 or 11 or whatever are in here.
So there's the 9 that are for those days, but if a dignitary passes away, or if the government sends out a notice for half-masting. So last year there was 21 of them that we did, and that was what sparred the flag replacement, because say this one takes a long time. The one at the post office, they have to use a bucket truck. They have to close off the road when they're lowering it. So they were going to get the flagpoles replaced with one-man operations, with basically a special key and a drill that they can just.
Okay, so how many? I do remember. How many poles did we have? 4.
Yeah, we're gonna.
What's in the budget?
Yeah. Okay.
So right now we have opposing views on how we'll treat the flag here. The opposing view from what Councillor Warwa said is she would like to see a 4th one added here to fly that flag, the community flag, as we be requested. So where you guys want to run with this? I mean, because we still got to come back to this building, because it's deemed the community flag flying property right now. So there's 3 of them. So I want to get to the bottom of this first. Are we still in agreement with these 3? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
I agree with Councillor Rudick. I think we should add a 4th one to this building, since it is the municipal building.
Okay.
Sorry, and I guess I should also preference, not just my preference, but also the cost is significant. So do we have, potentially, because you were just working on this, do we have an idea of how much this costs? What I'm asking, sorry.
They are about 4,000 a pole installed.
And sorry, supplemental to that, how long do these last for?
The flagpoles,
Yep,
like 15, 20 years. Like,
okay.
it's a great investment, and when we did the cost comparison for the amount of time and labor that it takes, especially for the amount of times that we're doing it, it was definitely a cost benefit to the town.
Okay, Councillor Lemko, you haven't weighed in?
Yeah, Your Worship. So you mentioned, Phil, that you're going to replace 2 here to the ground.
So we were going to replace two here. We could forego the post office for this year and add another one in front of the town office. That would give us 3 flagpoles, a Canadian, Alberta, and then a Vegreville flagpole, which then could become the community flag. Or we add the 4th pole and we have Canada, Alberta, Vegreville, and then a community flagpole. If there's nothing going on in the community flagpole, the flag etiquette says that it has to be a Canadian flag.
Okay, I'm of the mind that if we have 4 at each end of town, that we should be consistent and have 4 here. That's our community poles. And then the others we can follow through in years later, then that's my point. 4 here.
Okay, so basically this is gonna come to a vote, on, myself personally, I think that the designated, both ends of towns is enough for the community flag. It means we're showing support and people coming into town realize what we are supporting. To have community flags on our building, I'm not sure that, first of all, we're all gonna agree 100% on what we are gonna support and what we're not gonna support. And there's gonna be a lot of questions moving forward. Why wouldn't you support this? Why would you? But it's much easier, I feel, just at each end of town. But we will decide, and we'll have a question at the council meeting about what is gonna be designated the community properties, and if we're gonna add more posts here, and are we gonna put money back in the budget? Are we just gonna take one other flagpole out of a different location and have it done here? So you guys can think about that as we're moving forward. So let's bring it up at the meeting. Okay, yep.
I had one more point that
Oh, sorry.
I had one other point that I was gonna make after
that's right,
we've
yeah.
done this. Further to the aspect of who provides the flag, do we usually always make a condition that we're not responsible for the flag or damage thereto?
I would hope so.
Would that be part of the policy, or does it need to be stated? Just a question.
I don't believe it was added in there, but I can certainly add that. So, Your Worship, I guess just for clarity of, so when this policy comes on Monday, should I change, what is the consensus of council? Should I change it to, take off the administration building for the policy, or?
Well, basically, we gotta vote on it, and what we're gonna move forward, we need a consensus of council, and first of all, Councillor Curtis hasn't been in this conversation yet, and hopefully that he's gonna be here later today, but I can see that it's not, the way we're heading is not gonna be a majority, but hopefully it won't be.
If I could suggest that for the current situation, that we approve the pride flag going to the east and the west of the town until we can determine whether we can actually put 4 poles here or stick with what we've got. I mean, I think that we're in the middle here where we've got a policy coming forward that we're going to debate. And, but for clarity if we were just to make a decision in the one situation here, and then make, as we develop this policy, determine whether we're gonna actually, in the future, put 4 poles here. And then plan a budget in the future if we need those other 2 poles. Because what we're doing here is, right now, is we're talking about adding roughly $8,000 if we wanted to go to 6 poles. Or, yes, to 6 poles, because you got 4 ordered, but you actually need 6 if we put 4 here. So that's my recommendation at the moment that we can consider moving forward.
Go ahead.
So I would be totally amenable to that suggestion. I think I'm more than happy to have the pride flag, for example, at either end of town, and moving forward, if we need to consider that in the budget moving forward. You decide operationally whatever works well for you, but I do appreciate the consideration of being able to address the administration building as a consistent part of that community flag raising policy as we move forward. So whatever would be easiest for administration to be able to do, both budget-wise as well as policy-wise, I'm amenable to whatever would be most expedient.
Well, I guess we could get consensus of council right now on if this building is gonna be within the community part, the three locations. So we'll start with Councillor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship, I would say that this building, being the town's administration building, I say yes, it should be.
Okay. You're yes?
I'm a yes.
Okay, I'm a no.
As is, I'm a no.
Okay.
Because we don't have flags.
I'm a yes.
I would only be a yes once we have 4 poles here so that it's consistent. So long as we have the poles that we currently have, then I suggest that we wait until we can budget and settle that we have 4.
Okay, so that didn't help, but
So, the way the policy is written right now, it is the community flag would be the one on the northeast corner of the building, which is our municipal flag. Because on the other side of the building, all we have is Canada and Alberta. So it's this pole on the corner that currently houses the Ukraine flag. That would be the community flagpole that.
I might add, the situation that we have before us right now, we are going to be putting the crosswalk painted here. So in essence, for this situation, we have 3 locations if we want to say that we're, recognizing the Pride Week. But for in the future, as we develop our policy, that's where we may need to make the decision about how many poles are going to be here and what the use of them would be. Thank you.
Yeah, I concur with Councillor Barry. Down the road, maybe it's not this year that we fly 4 flags, but budget implications and all that, that we plan for that down the future. And this policy was just brought to us today, so it's kind of like we haven't even dived into it to really appreciate what other discussion points we can bring to it, so that's where I stand.
okay, so basically, we are going to be saying yes to the Pride Week flags at each end of town and this crosswalk at our next meeting. But we're gonna wait for some more information on a new poll schedule for this building and not taking it away from any other facility in town.
Agreed.
Okay, but if we do get a 4th poll here, then that there is a majority of council says that then this location would be included in the community flag flying part of the policy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's clear as mud. Everybody got it?
You bet.
Do we need any type of direction to senior management on this right now, CAO Leggett?
I believe it's clear, Your Worship. I have notes here.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to the spray park drainage.
Thank you, Worship. This is a memo to Council and SLG. The town has received several calls with requests to install drainage at the Lion Spray Park and Playground. Due to poor drainage and slope, water sits in pools, which is creating sinkholes in the playground area. The base of the playground is scheduled to be repaired this year when the Kinsman Playground base is installed. At the request of the CAO, multiple estimates were requested. We have received quotes from Colville Construction, HCL Site Services for consideration. You can see before you Colville Construction at a cost of $16,040 and HCL at $22,500, both including GST. So it is my recommendation that we go with Colville Construction. They can start right away. I've found some areas within the budget that this could come from, so, as it was not a budgeted item this year.
That's pretty darn good. You're manipulating the budget to make it work. Didn't see that coming. I wouldn't advertise that if I were you, but whatever. Go ahead.
Did they give you an approximate timeline that it would take for completion? I know you said within the season, but did they give you a rough idea?
About a week.
Oh, it's quick.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only thing I don't see in the first one, Colville, is I don't see any weeping tile whatsoever being installed around this whole
And that is not including weeping tile. I did check with Parks, the soft line. They said it's not required. It is a nicety, but it's not required at this time. On a new park, it would definitely be required. Like given this location, most playgrounds now when they build them so that there actually is a slope to the park, where the current one is pretty much flat. So
But we didn't build this park, and we didn't engineer it and anything like that. All we did was take it over for the maintenance, right?
that is correct.
But if we were to build a park, we would definitely put weeping tile and control the drainage.
So for instance, the Kinsman Park that we just did, there's no weeping tile, but the way the park was designed is that the water all flows downhill to the river, and we don't.
Nice having a river, for sure.
But I
No
mean,
doubt about that. But I'm saying in regular, if we were to building of a normal park without river access, we would ask for drainage. We would ask for a weeping tile in it. If we had weeping tile of that situation right now, where it is now, we would probably drain.
and it's only if you're putting the rubber base. If you're using engineered wood fiber or the pea gravel, you don't need to, because it has a natural drainage. It's just when you're doing that soft line rubber basing that they suggest to put the weeping tile. So Foxview Park has no drainage. It's a natural drainage into the earth.
But right now, the spray park has no natural drainage. What it has is a natural collection area.
In one
So
spot.
we're feeling that one catch basin is enough to drain what the problem is there with no weeping tile at all.
Yeah. Based on the evidence over the last 6 years, so when it did flood and caused some damage is the year we had, I believe the records show it was 5 years ago, when we had a large amount of snow and we had a very, very quick melt and the water had nowhere to go. Even with the amount of snow we had this year, there was very little water buildup, but this drainage will assist in any future snowfalls. And
Okay. Councilor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. Is it possible prior to any construction happening that administration gets a hold of the new president of the Lions Club, who's expressed interest in this project? Yost with Bergen, I think his last name's, it's got a van, something in it, but it's Bergen. I know he's my neighbor across the street, but he expressed that they want to do some fencing around there. And they want to talk about the drainage, so it'd be prudent that we contact them as it's their park.
I actually spoke to him last week, and his concern is, so the Lions got some donations from the community to build a fence at the request of numerous parents that currently right now their little kids can take off, and there's really nothing to hold them in, I guess. So they're going to be putting up a 3-foot chain link fence around the entire park to cage the little ones, as to say. And they just want to make sure that we're before they do the fence, they wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna be, walking all over each other. So we're gonna be completing our project. Once it's all finished, then they're gonna be doing their fence project. So I've cleared it with the president, so.
Go ahead.
So I hadn't been at the park recently, but with new Ukrainian residents, was just there last night, and it is in some state of disrepair. So I'm glad that this is coming forward. My concern would be that we're kind of comparing apples to oranges here. We've got a quote that has one additional offering and one that doesn't. So I guess I would be wondering if the weeping tile is in fact necessary. It sounds like you've done a collective year-over-year comparison to see whether or not it is required. But it's in pretty bad shape right now. Like the rubber matting is probably vandalized as well, not just damaged from water, which is unfortunate, but it's a well-used park, and I'd want to make sure that it's repaired properly. So that was part of your consideration?
So the rubber matting is getting repaired by the Softline, the same company that did ours. I've actually confirmed with them. They are going to come, and I think they're coming in a couple of weeks to come and start the lines project. So what they're doing is they're basically going to be taking the areas that are damaged, removing that area, repacking it, and then putting new rubber. They're not doing the entire thing. They're just doing repairs. So.
Sorry, and the other part of the question was, because it is in such a bad state, I would want to make sure that whatever repairs we're doing are sufficient. So your feeling is that the weeping tile is not necessary, and that in this instance, your recommendation is to go with Colville based on what they're offering in their service provision.
Yes, and I did get a verbal quote from Colville that to add the weeping tile would be an additional $1,700. So it's still under the price of
Okay, so a lot of the problem there is the drainage from the library that rolls right in there too. So if we're not gonna address when the library sheds water, that facility, are we gonna redirect that water? Or are we gonna put it right back to there?
That actually has been fixed already. That was fixed in in the fall of 2018. It was fixed because that was a major problem. So that my understanding is that has been fixed, that drainage issue. So the rest is basically just snow that sits and melts.
And the fact that it's lower than the alley.
Yeah.
It's a hard time. The water from the alley rolls into the park.
Yeah.
We can't fix that today.
No, and in talking with Softline and the parks company that was here for Foxview and Kinsman, back in the day, had the entire area been built up about 6 inches, and then the spray park and the playground and the gazebo all built on top of that, this would not be an issue because everything would be draining off to the road as it is. So it's just, there's low spots between the playground, the gazebo and the spray park that basically are collecting water. So.
Well, I don't want to fix it if it's not going to work. So, I mean, I'm not afraid of either price here, but I want to make sure that between the apparatuses, that water's just not going to lay in between the park itself, the ship and stuff. If we're going to do this, I mean, we might as well do it once. I mean, because if we ask the contractor to put a warranty on it, and then next spring it's all wet again, and we just wasted a bunch of money. I mean, we're asking them to be telling us what we need.
So in talking with Softline, they said like once their base is repaired, it's going to have some good longevity on it as if that drainage is put in, because that's going to get rid of the bulk of the water, because that's where it all pools in, is in between there. And when it is overwhelmed with water, it just runs back onto the park. Everything comes from the library, and when everything melts, it either goes to the alleyway, which we pump out, or it goes into that low spot, and it has nowhere to go right now. And then what happens is that it seeps underneath the park or around the fixtures in the park. This will eliminate that now. So once they've taken out all those soft areas that have sunk around some of the poles and they've repoured it, now the water will have a place to drain off, and it'll go into the catch basin and gone. So.
Okay. Councillor Barry, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So in listening to the conversation, I get this, that what is proposed initially here for 16,000 will probably work, but adding 1,700 would likely make it better. So I'm trying to find out if the total price would now become 17,740, would it not be better to add the weeping towel? Rather than guessing or deciding, without it, is it good? Appears that with it, it's better. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bullock, you haven't said too much. Where are you at on this?
I don't know. Listening to it all, I'm thinking that if we're questioning the fact that it may or may not need the weeping tile, I would lean to the side that it should have the weeping tile. That's where I'm at on that.
Well, not being a construction manager, and I know Colville is, and I know HCL, they know what they're talking about. We didn't give them any, the scope of the work just said, make it drain. So, again, I'm not, I don't want to be here telling anybody what to do, but if we can get, I feel if we can put the weeping towel around and have that drain to the new catch basin on its own, it just saves a lot of problems. Because we don't know what the future holds when it comes to amount of rainfall we're going to get. I've been watching weather in the news a lot the last 4 or 5 years, and it seems to be a little different than what we were accustomed to. So I think anything we can do right now on that site over there that is going to help us for the next 20 years, we should do. Go ahead, CAO Leggett.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So just to confirm, then we'll go ahead with the Colville quote and include the weeping towel. Okay. And just for council's information, this isn't something that we're going to bring back. We're just going to go ahead and do it because that budget that Director Rowe indicated is a repairs and maintenance budget, so we're able to draw it from there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Director Rowe. Next up, Director Lefebvre.
Thank you. I have a memorandum to council. This is regarding the application within a DC or direct control district. The background, the Pollock family bought and developed the property located at 5036 51st Avenue into the Autumn Rose Funeral Home in 2000. The original building was 2,745 square feet, covering 22% of the lands and supplied 12 parking stalls. In 2003, an addition for the chapel was completed, adding 960 square feet for a total lot coverage of 30%, and Vantage Builders had reworked the parking plan to show 28 stalls. On May 3rd this month, 2022, Planning Development received an application for the proposed expansion of Autumn Rose Funeral Home. The addition will expand the garage 928 square feet and add another 1,024 square feet to the main floor that will consist of a new lobby space, as well as a clergy room and public washroom. This proposal also includes the addition of a 1,132.5 square foot second floor that will serve as staff rooms, lockers, washrooms, and offices. Without a parking plan at this time, the only location that has parking remaining would be on the east side and the north side of the building, totaling 13 stalls. The block currently consists of 5 older homes, one which was renovated into multifamily units, 2 duplexes constructed in 2007. The lots to the south across 51st Avenue are Zone C1, Central Commercial District. This block consists of the Telus Building as well as 6 houses west, and across 51st Avenue are all residential housing. The property to the north, across the back lane, is the Legion, and obviously its large parking lot. The purpose of the direct control district is to identify those areas of the town within which council considers it desirable to exercise particular control regarding the use and development of land or buildings. There's the permitted and discretionary uses and the development regulations. That council may regulate, control, and apply conditions of approval to the use or development of land or buildings in any manner it considers necessary. And that's the standard with the direct control district. The communication strategy is to contact the applicant directly following council's decision. And the option for council now is to review the application, with or without conditions, or deny the application. This will be coming up to the Monday regular scheduled council meeting. I included in this, we've included the development permit application for your review, and then we added in just some, the basic site layout that they've provided to us, so you can get a feel of what it is they're going to do, what's existing and what's new.
Okay, any comments? Everybody knows what the role of council is on zoning. By them adding that extra roof, it's still, I don't think it will be as high as the building beside it, that fourplex or whatever beside it, it'd be close to that, so it's not like it's gonna stick out. There's one right beside it, I mean, really close. They have arrangements already done with the Legion for parking, and they have funerals, they've made that arrangements, and they have worked it out between themselves with the Legion for extra parking. So we're losing a few parking stalls that they normally have, but usually, well, there's enough to accommodate with the use of the Legion parking lot, and they usually have the lunches and stuff there anyway at the Legion, and they can just walk from the parking lot through a walkway right up to the front of the funeral home. The design is, well, it stays pretty much the same. The roof lines match the other lines that are already on the existing building, so. Is there any other questions anybody wants to know about this, or? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock.
Actually, looking it over, it looks attractive to what they're doing with the building. Anyways, it's not gonna deter from anything. And in the waiting area where the people are waiting to get in, I see what they're adding is basically gonna house the people that are usually waiting outside during a large funeral, so it's very much needed for them for this, so I could support this.
Not yet, you can't. Okay, well, we'll see this at the next council meeting. If nobody has any other questions, Adele, on that? Okay, thank you, Director Lefebvre. Next up, Director Saskew.
Thank you, Risha. So I have the 2022 budget update. I've provided you all with your budget binders, so we're gonna go through on a, so to say, case-by-case basis of the 22 budget items. And we'll start with the memorandum that's attached. This is just for your information. It goes through different things that we have passed in the operating budget, including no change in property taxes for municipal portion of property, cost of living allowance for employees, capital funded from operations, transfers from reserves, and the different capital and replacement projects for the year. So this is a summary that we can refer back to. It's got like a nicely summarized project and plan for years to years. We can go into if anyone has questions on that once we go through on a case-by-case basis. So what we're gonna start is if you go to your operating tab, starting with, actually let's start at capital because that's first. So if you go to your capital tab and then switch to community services, we'll start with those cases. So there's business case 1 should be highway signage. We're all there? Okay, so this one, May 22 update, it was approved in the final budget. RFPs have gone out and final selection to be done in the coming weeks. 5 proposals were received. It was narrowed down to 3 candidates for council presentation at the June 7th legislative meeting. So this project is ongoing and we will see it shortly in a ledge meeting. So the next page is signage. Moving on, the new facilities vehicle half ton. So this is a May 22 update. It was not approved in the final budget. It was removed after repurposing a public works truck to facilities.
Can we just back up here, Councillor Saskew? So the community camera system, which was a carry forward, that $30,000 was budgeted 2 years before that.
Yes, that is correct.
So we've never decided what we're doing there. So it's something that we feel that legislatively, some rules would have to change for us to put this in.
That was correct. After we did the preliminary work at the request of council in 2020 and 2021, there's a lot of legislative and FOIP stuff that has to be put in place and approved before we can put a community camera system up. So, and that goes to federal legislation for privacy, that we have to put this stuff in place, and it's, to be quite honest, it's above my scope.
Okay, so that's just, I don't wanna disrupt you, but this money's been setting there, budgeted, setting in where, and if nothing's gonna be done with it, we should make a decision what we're doing, because we know there is some communities that have this. I mean, we've been to communities and seen it, so they're actually breaking the law, is what we're being told as a council, so.
No, not anymore. They were originally, but now they've spent a lot of time and effort to get up to the you can put community cameras, you just have to have specific legislation in place and how that information is accessed. So it's not impossible. The cameras, the costs are, I mean, they're real costs. It's getting the paperwork and the planning up to the point where those cameras are operational, and what are we doing with the information? Because there's two streams you can go to. It's a security or another avenue. The moment you mention security, there's a lot of privacy legislation that has to be followed, and that takes somebody who is a FOIP master and legislative master that can understand that, which I'm sorry,
But if other communities are doing it, could we not just get a template from them, and then, it's either we're gonna go ahead with this, or we're gonna get it the heck off the books, because we've waiting for this to happen. So,
And to add, the CCTV community cameras were budgeted to come from reserves, so they were budgeted in 2021. Since they never did get drawn from reserves, that general reserve is still there. And the CCTV, the reason there was no business case for 2022 is because it was pushed into 2023 budget. So there's nothing on 2022 books for these cameras right now. There's an old resolution that we could use to draw from reserves, but at this time I would say that it's not even valid to do that. We'd have to revisit that in 2023 budget.
okay.
So we didn't levy taxpayers for these funds, that we were gonna bring it out of reserves.
Okay. Well, that, to me,
changes that
that
then.
changes that,
Yeah.
but, I mean, I don't know. I know we're busy everywhere, but other communities do it, and if they can make it happen, they must have some sort of template we can borrow from them and say, this is the way we're gonna do it. I mean, because what I've seen in other communities in the police station worked pretty good. They were like, oh, there he goes now. It was really nice. It was quite a crime fighting tool. And that's illegal, because you can't watch criminals. Yeah, I know, it doesn't make any sense, but you're not allowed to identify people as stealing stuff when they're stealing stuff. Okay. But if we could find out from other communities how they do it, and if it's a huge thing, I mean, they wouldn't lend us their binder and we'll just photocopy it. If it's something more than that, maybe we could take a look at this. Because it's been requested by previous council, and I'm sure this council would like to see it too, so. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys wanna take a look at this and to see how other communities do it? And can we just borrow their notes and then photocopy them and get them over to here? Councilor Barry.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Yeah, I could agree with that. So if this money is just sitting in
It's just in general reserves.
in a general reserve, then it's accessible at any time. So we don't have to actually wait to the 2023 budget period, do we? I mean, it's sitting there, and we've said that we will look at the cameras, so if we gather information as to what is required, then maybe we can move forward with it at some time in the near future.
Okay. So, we're just gonna wait for, Director Saskier. She has a comment, and hopefully it's not gonna disrail our plans.
Just to clarify, your general reserves, the last reserve schedule that we had sent out, we have actually, so to say, overcommitted our general reserve, so that 30,000 maybe isn't there right now to take. But I can definitely revisit that and make sure
Okay,
we want to move forward.
that's never good. We'll go ahead here first, and then over to you, Chris.
What I would ask maybe, if this is pushed to the 2023 budget, as strange as it seems. That's not far off. Maybe that will give us enough time to be able to prepare, because it is something that we definitely have thought about in the past, and even just the discussion about the park. We want to have the capacity to be able to have eyes on places that we spend a lot of money on, as well as concern about public safety. So maybe this will, timing-wise, mesh together well. It doesn't seem that it's close, but it is actually really close before we start talking about budget, so maybe that'll work out.
Okay, go ahead, CEO.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Just along those same lines as Councillor Rudick, you know, given the multitude of stuff to do in any particular year, usually budget items that are pushed forward into future years, staff doesn't do much with them just as a matter of procedure. But, you know, in a case like this, you know, we can make a few calls and to your point, Your Worship, see if somebody out there has something like this and a template. And then at least we know where to look for the paperwork and how to make it work in 2023 if you guys decide to make it a priority in next year's budget, so. Yeah.
Well, I hope moving forward we can. So if you have this by budget time, something together for us, that's where we're at right now, because we're gonna have to start topping up some reserves, obviously. My point was, I didn't know that it was already just in a reserve. I thought we had already taxed the community for this at one time. But that not being the case, it wasn't, that's fine. Sorry to hold you up there, but if there's stuff that's, we're on here that we're not doing, we're gonna keep bringing it up, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so the next one that we're gonna look at is the AC for the server room, so let's go to that case. So this was from facilities, budgeted at $14,000. It was approved in the final budget. The project is ongoing. They're reaching out to local businesses for updated quotes. So this is to keep our server room happy and healthy and nice and cool to avoid any equipment malfunctions. So,
we're expecting this to be done this year.
yes,
Great.
the project is ongoing. The next page is the dehumidifier for facilities. This was approved in the final budget. On February 9th, we had Kimco provide a quote for the dehumidifier and installation for $37,500, so that's before tax. The dehumidifier has been ordered and we're awaiting delivery. So it's ordered and coming in below budget, so that's always good to see.
So we'll have an extra 10,000 there.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. Well, if they gave us a quote, you would think we would, right?
Yes, and it's been ordered, so the
Okay.
quote can't necessarily change.
So the price, Your Worship, of the dehumidifier won't change? It's just for any unforeseen plumbing costs and everything that go with the installation of the new one. That's what I was told, so.
Well, hopefully they would have quoted some plumbing in there.
The installation is included, but there may be some unforeseens, taking the old one out and putting the new one in. So I'm hoping there's not.
Yeah, well, if there is, tell them that they had the same chance as everybody else to see what plumbing needs were. Because if you're doing this type of work, you ought to know what type of plumbing it's gonna take. So we won't let somebody pull that over our, okay?
Okay, the next one is the furnace replacement at the recreation and facilities, so that's the Aquatic Center. So this was approved in the final budget. It's been submitted to the Recreation Energy Conservation Grant Program. The scoping audit was complete and the first payment has been issued. The second payment will be issued if the furnace upgrade is pre-approved by signing an offer letter. We have been waitlisted for the implementation portion of the furnace replacement, and we're currently waiting for the project to be reviewed and pre-approved. So this is for additional funding to cover this furnace replacement. Otherwise, it's still an ongoing project and hopefully will be completed before this next winter season. The next page is the skid steer track model. So this one was not approved in the final budget, so we will haven't purchased a skid steer. The one after that is the sweeper attachment. So this was approved in the final budget. It has been purchased and received on budget. So that is that one. The walking trails for parks, $20,000. This was not approved in the final budget. So no work has been continued. And the 22 project for the extrication equipment replacement for fire services, it was originally budgeted at $30,000. Since then, this has come through to council for resolution in this spring, and they approached for an additional $7,000 from the equipment reserve. These extrication tools have been approved purchased, and they were received the week of March 21st of 2022. So they are in use now.
This extra 7 come out of just general reserve?
It was out of the equipment reserve, so the fire equipment reserve. So those are them. Actually, these are not the tools that were purchased. These were the sample tools that were given at budget time, so.
Okay.
Emergency services communication radios for either lease or purchase. These were not approved in the final budget, so those were not purchased. And that is it for community services capital. We're gonna move on to IP&D now. So if you just flip your tab to IP&D, there's the overall summary. And then the first business case is the shoring cage. So once everybody's there, we can go through. So this shoring cage was approved in the final budget, has been ordered, and it actually arrived just last week. It's now available for use. It was on budget at an expense of $9,400 plus an additional cost of $600 for drop-in slings to be OH&S compliant. So the total project cost was $11,000, and we came on right just under budget with that. So that's nice to see. So flipping through 2 more pages, this is just the summary was the next page. The garbage truck. So this was approved in the final budget. It was ordered the first week of March of 2022. The chassis to go on the build list at Peterbilt, possibly by June. Whenever truck chassis is ready, it then goes to Superior for the installation of the Packmore compactor body. Due to supply issues, this is estimated to be 12 to 16 months before we're actually expecting delivery. So, project is ongoing, but we will likely not see this until next year.
And do we have a firm price, like we have a contract on the cost on this Peterbilt plus the compactor?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we're good at 395,000. That's correct. Okay.
So the next one is the compactor tent structure. This was also approved in the 2022 budget. The deposit has been paid on it. Structure was ordered locally, and we're waiting for the area at the landfill to dry to complete the groundwork. So this is an ongoing project. The next page is the landfill boundary fence, phase 1 of 2. This was approved in the final budget. Capital out of operation, so it's not an actual capital expense, but it's still capital in nature. And we're waiting for the area at the landfill to dry for groundwork as well.
We do that ourselves? Yeah.
Actually, you have to say yes. Some of the material, obviously, we have to purchase.
Yep.
We'll construct.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just to back up one, Director Sasky, was the temporary structure, was that on budget, you said? It's already ordered?
I believe so. Like, the final costs are not
costs
yet known, so,
okay.
right, like, until it's fully installed and whatnot, we can't know for sure that the quote has been on budget, but until things are actually fully installed, we don't know for sure the final costs, right?
Thank you.
Sometimes things bubble up.
Are we running power to that?
We are not running power. We're checking into next year's budget for some solar to help us get us through the winter.
Just on lighting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, the next business case available is the pump 105 replacement for utilities. So this was approved in final budget, and pump 105 and the motor have been ordered, so they've not yet been received. So once again, project's ongoing, no budget implications known at this time. So Capital Works 2022, so this is planning and development. So this was the original 52nd Street overlay and valve concrete works and sewer repair. That was approved in the budget. This was amended in the new year to prioritize the forced main replacements. So this has been pushed to 2023. It's been switched with the forced main, but this is what we saw when we approved 2022 budget. So I left this in here because that's what's in all of our binders, but this is now the 2023 project. So this has not been undertaken, and our forced main is what's the priority at this point in time. So that's it for the IP&D capital. Are there any questions regarding that?
See nothing?
Okay, so we're gonna move on to operations now. So under your operations tab, The first one that we'll go to would be under, I believe it's under strategic services. This first one's a little bit of flipping to find. It's the third page in on strategic services. There's a memorandum talking about additional strategic services admin clerical position. So this was approved in the final budget. The position was not hired. Oh, we're not there yet?
So, on strategic services,
Should be the third page in. There's a memorandum. Fifth page. Okay, so it's the fifth page. Apparently mine's slightly different.
here we go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, this one's the only tricky one to find. So this was the Strategic Services Administrative Clerical position. So it was approved in the final budget. The position has not been hired, and we are now advertising it as a term position for 6 months with interviews happening and being ongoing right now. So that is where that one's at. So obviously that one will be on budget because instead of a full year, it's now gonna just be the 6 months. Now moving on to community services. So we're gonna flip through the number tabs at the start and go to the first business case, which is wayfinding signage for $20,000. So right here. I'll give you a chance to all get there. So 2 more pages. 1 more maybe. Oh, maybe it's a ways back. Okay, let's go flip through all the numbers pages.
Community services, there, you're on it right now.
There you go. $20,000 for wayfinding signage. Apparently my book's slightly different. I apologize.
Are you wayfinding at the top of that one?
This one says tourism.
First blue page, first blue line.
Oh, here it is. It's behind the family bathroom.
Okay. So this was, the wayfinding signage for 20,000 was approved in the final budget and the project is ongoing. So that is not 100% related to the $100,000 that we had talked about, but I believe Director Rowe has included some of this wayfinding signage in with those RFPs for.
So this wayfinding signage was actually in the year before's budget. It was the 20,000.
This was a carry forward.
Yeah, okay.
So the project is ongoing, and on the next page, you can see some samples of the signage that was approved according to the wayfinding plan that was approved in 2020 or 2021. Moving on from there, we have the Community Revitalization Committee. So this was approved in 2020 budget, and the project's ongoing. So there's no update as to that as of right now. The next one is the OH&S AEDs at Parks and Public Works. These were also approved in the final budget. They have been purchased and installed at both buildings. The total cost was on budget at $46.42, so just slightly under budget, which is nice to see. And then flip through, there's gonna be possibly some figures, numbers, but then the next page is going to be the Fall Protection System lift station. So this was approved in the final budget. Project is ongoing. The anchors for the fall arrest system have been installed at the lift station. The balance of equipment has been ordered and we're just waiting for its shipment to arrive. So project has been ongoing. The next one is the AV upgrades at the fire station. So this was approved in the final budget and the project is ongoing. The one after that is the tourism strategic plan. So this was approved in the final budget. The project's to be started after council strategic plan is finalized and approved. So this is awaiting a little bit of a hard pause until the strategic plan is approved so that we can ensure that this is on side with the strategic plan before undertaking any additional strategic plans. So that is the update for that one. The next is the Corn Maze, Tourism and Culture. So this was approved in the final budget, and obviously the project's ongoing. It's still pretty early in the season, so.
So, just on that, so we estimated $10,000 the cost. Do we take that money back out of the ticket sales to pay back what we put in? We don't. Okay.
Last year, we recognized $18,000 of income. So we had recognized income and expense, but this budget estimate, this amount was also an expense of the town, so before distributing to community groups, we make sure that that net cost is there, but this 10,000 always stays as a cost. If that makes sense. So like last year we had, or I don't know if it was last year or this year, I have written down here $18,000 of income with $28,000 of cost, so which is a net expense of 10,000.
Okay. We didn't keep any of the money. Not a dime. And our costs were $28,000.
I can confirm that.
Something's not right there. There's no way it cost us 28,000.
Or that's what was budgeted this year.
Maybe that's what the income was. It gets dispersed between everybody else. Can you help me there?
I can find out quickly.
It's difficult to really say this right now without giving it a full review. Some of the monies that we were budgeting here are for getting a bit of equipment so that we can actually work out there better. Up till now, basically all of the equipment has been donated or borrowed, including mine, which no longer works. So we have to actually have some equipment out there that's owned by the town, repaired by the town, so that we can operate. So that's where some of this money is involved. Thank you.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not against if it, we budgeted 10,000, but if the actual costs are gonna be 28,000, that might be a problem. Is it, maybe we're not seeing it the right way.
So no, that's exactly how it is. So for 2022, it was budgeted as we have $18,000 of income and then $28,000 of cost. So for a net cost to the town of 10,000, and I believe that was 7,500 in 2021.
Okay,
If I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look at I have a corn maze printout, so I can get you the exact cost from 2021.
so this is what we're thinking that it's gonna cost the town with some purchase of equipment. The town of Vegreville is gonna be in for $10,000.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm not really, but we don't take any of the sales. None of it.
Take the net expense of the sales and distribute it to community groups that helped run the corn maze. That's what they did last year. Yeah. Less but the net of after this 10,000. So that's what they did the year before. So I think it was 7,500 in 2021. And so because that was a budgeted expense for the town, they took anything over that and distributed it to community groups. I can confirm that. Like I said, I came back just kind of right when this was all happening this last summer, so I don't know right off the top of my head exactly.
Okay, well, if I'm hearing you right, we did collect the $7,500 that we were in initial cost. I mean, someone's gotta be able to tell me this. We did. So whatever money we put in, we got our money out, and then the rest was dispersed amongst all the other groups. Oh, okay. Well, we'll find out. Somebody will let us know.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I was just gonna just suggest, your worship, if council's open to it, we can bring back a memorandum specific on the accounting for the corn maze here,
just let us know, I mean, because I mean, it's nice to do all this, but if it ends up costing a ton of money to taxpayers,
and the way I'm hearing it is that
It's a net cost of 10,000 this year for 2022.
it costs us more to run it than we take in, so at the end of the day, it costs us $10,000.
and
That's how it was budgeted for 2020.
and I can see that because I remember talking about where it's gonna be a little bit more cost to try to get some equipment down there. But I didn't realize that we weren't taking our input out.
Yeah.
I thought we, like, whatever cost we had, we were getting that out first before we dispersed the money, but, okay.
Okay, so moving right along. The next one is the family change room assessment for the facilities at the Aquatic Center. This was not approved in the final budget, so the goal is to present a limited scale preliminary plan to council for the 2023 budget. So we're gonna be presenting drawings, not necessarily engineered drawings, to help facilitate council's decision on whether to proceed with this or not in 2023 or beyond. So that is where that's sitting right now. The next page is the office security upgrade at facilities. So for Aquatic Center, this was approved in the final budget. The project is ongoing, about 80% complete. We're waiting on security glass, door locks, and camera installations, so. That is where that one's at.
80% complete, that means the office.
Yes.
So we have no security locks, we have no security cameras. So 80% of the 40,000 was the new office.
I can't tell you,
Yeah.
like 80% came from Director Rowe, not necessarily me looking at costs spent to date, so.
But does the 80% includes the purchase already of all the security? It's just.
Yes, that'll include the purchase of the camera equipment. That's been included in that. So we're just waiting for them to arrive. Like, they've been ordered. We're just waiting for them to arrive. Our own in-house staff have been doing all the running the wiring. So the cameras are in place. We're just changing the cameras to new HD technology, because currently what we have right now are very pixelated. So we're going to a newer technology, and we're just, when they come in to install the cameras, they're going to install the door locks. So the doors are in place. They don't have the swipe card door locks in place. So that's all, but it's all been ordered. We're just waiting for them to come in and do the installation.
Okay, well, if we spent that kind of money, there's $20,000 for a new bathroom. We're way short on that, so good thing we didn't approve it.
Well, that 20,000, that was the thing at the time, it was only for getting drawings of. And that's why at the time, Your Worship, I believe you said, we're not spending 20,000 for new drawings. Since we've approved another project under the same potential people, how about ask them to give us a little draw up, right? So I think that's what was said at the time. So we had approved the office and security upgrade, but suggested that we go back, and since we had awarded such a project, they could potentially give us a preliminary without us spending 20,000.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if we do undertake the family change room, we probably will need engineer drawings if it has to do anything with the roof line, et cetera. But to give council an idea of what it will actually cost with some just preliminary mock-up drawings, that's probably sufficient at this time for 2023 budget. Okay, so the next one has already been talked about today is the flagpole replacement for facilities. So this was approved in final project. It's to commence this summer. So as Director Rowe has noted, we are replacing the 5 existing flagpoles that are in the community flag half-masting protocols. These flagpoles are the post office, RCMP building, fire station, and the 2 community flagpoles would be outside of our front of our building. So those are the 5 that are set to get replaced at this time. Okay, so next.
Post office, the new RCMP building is getting a new flagpole.
And that is one that we could eliminate. And basically, it's because of security and the amount of time. But the RCMP building is actually not a big deal for facilities. The post office one is one that they would have to use the bucket truck, and the one at the fire hall, again, it's tied off high because because people can steal the flags. So, and then the two community flagpoles. So we could remove the RCMP building and the fire station and use that as, that was the plan, was to take that and use them here.
Okay, well, you're gonna bring that back to us later. I'm just, where I'm looking at here, the 2 community flagpoles. So one at each end of town is scheduled to be replaced with the drill loading of the sign, of the flag.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so the next business case we have here are the AV upgrades at the social center, which are much awaited. This has been approved in final budget. The project is ongoing. We have had several dates of them to come and install, but we are being held up due to supply chain issues. There's 2 or 3 critical pieces that just haven't arrived yet. So we are waiting patiently for the items to arrive and then the company to come and install everything. So hoping before festival and wedding season that they would be updated. Moving on, we have the cement pad at the event center. This was approved in final budget. Project is to be started on May 10th and will be completed by the end of May. So this is in progress and hopefully almost done.
It is actually completed as of today, so.
Excellent. The next business case we have is the LED lighting upgrade at the Emergency Services Building. So this was approved and the project has been completed, and I've been told that the lights are a nice upgrade. Couple more pages. I'm gonna find the bullards. Oh, you went too far. Okay. So the bullards at Pasanka Park. These were approved in the final budget. It's to commence in June 2022. Twin Lakes is currently making them throughout the month of May. So there, if you look at the next page, it's these round pieces, and so they have to put cement in, kind of pack them, tamp them, do some work with them, and so as they're made, they will be installed in June.
And are we doing this ourselves, with our staff? Pulling out the post and putting these in?
Yes. And I've developed a plan with the Parks Department that the way we're going to install these and lay them down, it'll reduce any weed trimming around there. So that'll cut a lot of time in the park, not having to weed whack around these things. So.
Okay, so the next one we have is the Ball Diamonds upgrade for the fencing. So this was approved in the final budget. The project's ongoing. The fencing contractor has been contacted. We're hoping for them to undertake the project in early June. The next one after that is the part-time clerical position at Recreation and Facilities. So this was approved in final budget and the position was filled. Summary, and I believe we are on to Capital Works now, IP&D. So if you go to the IP&D tab, go to your first business case. I think there's a few summary pages before it. It should be the CRF sand seal. Wait until everybody's done fidgeting. So this is the Public Works Road Services replacement budget for CRF sand seal, and you can see there's two options for the different streets that will be to be determined once they are in, depending on condition of roadways after the winter thaw. They were approved in final budget, and the project's to be completed after the hot pour in early July, mid-July. So no expenses have been spent at this time. 55 Avenue paving, so this was approved in final budget, and the project is to commence this summer, so something to look forward to. The one after this is the ear protection with communication, so this is the Signage. That was approved in final budget. It was purchased in February of 2022, and it's in use and working very well for the staff. It came in under budget at $7,100, so just slightly under budget.
And are we happy with the deal, like the distance from one manhole to the other when they're talking there, they're good?
Yeah, it is good, and it's helpful because when they're running the sewer. Thank you. When they're running the sewer cleaning machine, the engine's where they're standing in front of, so when it's revved up, it's impossible to hear anything. So they said with these, it's just perfect. They're enjoying it.
Okay, so the next one is the North Parkway Drainage Silt Dredging. So this was approved in final budget, and the project is commenced this summer. The one after this is the Riverbank Stabilization Design and Drawing. So this is at the cemetery. As we know, some of the banks are not very stable, and the same thing, that was approved in the final budget, and the project is in progress and underway. Another cemetery project here is the cemetery gate widening and realign it. This is also approved in the final budget, and the project is to commence this summer. The next one we have is the water reservoir painting. So this is the Gunite Reservoir. It was approved in the final budget, and same thing, project is to be undertaken this summer.
If we reached out to anybody of those other service clubs and with their signage or anything?
I have not done that, but I think the infrastructure coordinator will assist me in carrying this project out.
Well, get back to us and everybody is on their comments. It'd be nice to hear.
Yep, for sure.
Okay, so the next one we have here is the security camera upgrade at the bulk water station. So this is approved in final budget and the project is in progress. So obviously supply chain issues have been an issue and a common denominator in most of our projects this summer. The next we have is the sewer lift valve gear set replacement. So this was also approved in final budget and is to be commencing this summer as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
An update with the Capital Works project happening with the revamp inside the sewer lift station. As part of the project, this will not be carried forward pending the completion of the 2022 Capital Works project.
Perfect.
Because we're putting all new valves. Yeah, I think it's 200 grand the other side. All new valves. Yeah, so it's not really a savings.
Saving money, yep. So the next one we have here is the compost rollouts. As many of you know, they are on site and have been delivered. The info decals for them have arrived and to be installed soon. The information pamphlet is also to be going out, encouraging adding kitchen waste into the compost rollouts and like not just grass clippings. So this seems to be a decently utilized program and hopefully the uptake will be good. Page after that, oh,
Just, so if somebody that didn't apply for one earlier still wants one, they can get a hold of Public Works and they can get one delivered, or?
Actually, that's in my director highlights, the compost program and how it rolled out.
Okay,
We can wait till that.
we'll wait for that, yeah.
Save the excitement for later.
almost done here. So the next one is the commercial shredder rental. So this was approved in the final budget, and this is something that'll be undertaken this summer. So as a reminder, this is to shred like mattresses and other items that aren't easily compacted by the compactor, so. And the last one I have here is the magnetic sweeper attachments. So this was approved in the final budget. I'm not sure if it's been purchased or arrived at this point in time, but this was to be attached and used at the landfill to pick up nails and other metal items that have been giving our staff and fleet flats as well as just general public, so.
So I have been contacted about this by 3 different residents, and they going to be using this on the road as well to the landfill, not just within the landfill.
It is primarily for the road.
Okay, good.
Yep.
That's where most people are, if you're following on a roofing guy or some guy that threw all of his roofing into a trailer. Yeah, a lot of trucking companies here are complaining, so, but they were told that this was in the budget, so.
Yes, I had one contractor, trucking company for sure, call me several times, and I assured him it was in the budget. I also let him know when it was approved by council in the budget, and then we'll follow up on the purchase as well.
Okay.
Okay, so that is all I have in relation to the 2022 budget and the budget business cases. Does anyone have any final questions or concerns?
Oh, it was good. Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
Thank you. It was a lot of extra work, I know, so thank you for, I don't know, entertaining my request, because I do feel like there's a lot of things that are happening. We've had a very busy time, and it's helpful for us to be able to go back and just hear again, of course, with Director Highlights, that allows us to be able to have a bit of an insight, but I really appreciate being able to have hands-on here, to be able to remember the discussions and also see where things are at. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So overall, employee, we're up basically where we're supposed to be. I mean, we're not funding any positions that are, we're not funding anything that we're not supposed to be right now, right? I mean, there's a body for every position that we have, other than somebody that just left or something like that. We're good, right? We're not funding positions that we're not planning on putting somebody into.
Well, positions are only funded in the amount that someone actually works. So if there's a vacant position that isn't being utilized right now, we're not spending any money on it right now. But yeah, and like as we do the budgets, we only budget for positions that are filled. Like for example, at 2022 budget, there was the interim corporate services director, which was myself, working the finance manager and the corporate services director before everything was finalized. So we budgeted my salary for what I was as interim. We didn't budget for the finance manager because that position was vacant. So we are very prudent when we're budgeting. So if somebody's away on a leave and we're not filling them, or other items such as like the interim, we do not budget for people that aren't a butt in the seat.
Okay. And go ahead, Dale.
And in the same, if I should have a permanent staff member or a long-term staff member that may have a leave and be off for some period of time, that his wages budgeted for, I will hire a seasonal or an interim to cover that, but not additional funds, just utilizing the funds that were already budgeted for that person that's on leave. And that happens more often.
Yeah. So the big question on the budget, I know that we allow so much every year for snow removal. And lots of times we're a little bit under, we just keep rolling that forward. Where do you think we were this year compared to our normal year?
I would be giving you a guess off the top of my head at this point, but I can do that because snow removal is not a separate item in the budget. It's just not. I would have to calculate our winter season, the amount of overtime that we put in, and the big one, as I made council aware prior to, is the fuel expenses that are gonna be a big hit this year, for sure.
So, but it's compared to where you normally see, this was, first of all, inflation, fuel price, plus the amount of hours in overtime.
Yep.
So the years that we've been storing a little bit of money away, because we didn't have to put it in as much as we thought or would normally see in there, that got used up this year.
Absolutely, and those are the years that, like last year, not this season, the season before, with a lower snow volume, you remember the end of the year, IP&D as a whole come in with a surplus because we weren't spending that. This year it might be a little tighter. I know it will be.
Okay, any other questions regarding overall budget or where we're at here moving forward? So we're gonna do this twice a year, or is it just once a year, like, 6 months? Cause it was October, November this was passed?
Yeah, December, I think, was when the budget was passed. I would say for another check-in, probably after summer would be maybe a good time, like before our next, because the problem is that we go too far into the fall. It's confusing to be talking about 2022 budget at the same time that we're budgeting for 2023. But that might work too, like.
Well, maybe in our pre-budget, but
We
maybe
can do an
let's do an update and pre-budget where we were with
that's a
the
good
budget. And, if there's gonna be some carry forward, what didn't get done? Go ahead, Councilor Rudy.
And just to clarify too, we implemented the practice of having quarterly variance reports, which we didn't used to have. And I also really like that. So that to me is a very different process than this. And I really, especially when we're doing big projects, that's kind of where we started to feel a little bit of a pinch when we were doing big projects like the RCMP build or something like that. To be able to have that periodic check-in, I really appreciate. I think that's prudent budgeting and really fits into our mandate as being good governors of the funds that we're dealing with, as well as in this check-in as a separate process. So I look forward to seeing that pre-budget, and budget time is always fun, but it's good to be able to see where things are at when people are asking us, and it helps us refresh when we're asking pointed questions to directors that maybe we are more prepared as council too. So thank you.
Go ahead.
I guess just one question over, I know that everybody's facing like supply chain issues. So in general, for the majority of our items, would you say that it's just been really extended time for delivery? Or do we typically wait a fair amount of time before ordering? So I guess I know that's hard because we're talking about a number of different items, but I'm wondering from the time that we actually pass our budget, how quickly some of the stuff gets ordered, or whether we slightly delayed till spring and now we're seeing that time.
And I really think it's a difference in departments. So Dale's department, once it's approved, he's already starting, like, the compactor or like the garbage truck. They already have kind of quotes in place and they can start taking that, because a lot of those things take so long for delivery. Yeah. But for example, if we have a computer at administration that's been budgeted and approved in December, I can't order it in December because it'll arrive before the end of December. So those are things that we have to wait until the next year to actually order, so that it doesn't actually become a 2021 expense. Yeah. So Director Rowe's things, like a lot of his would be like that too. So those things aren't ordered until the next year. But to be argued, they could be ordered in January.
I guess that was where I'm going at with it, because a lot of our projects are stuff that lands on us in the summer, of course.
Yeah.
And so if we've passed it through, yours is different. Your stuff takes a long time, unfortunately, like the garbage trucks and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see that if we've passed it, that we get on it right away in the January, and then maybe we aren't having all of our equipment arrive and so much stress and strain on our people to install everything that arrived at the same time.
Yeah, and this year I do believe that a lot of things were ordered in January that are
Perfect.
we're still waiting on. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I just noticed that we're moving along here.
He appears to be having some technical issues, though. He's not officially connected.
Okay, because I noticed he's in and out. Okay, not a problem. Okay, you have one more, Director Saskia?
the request for utility forgiveness.
Yes.
Okay, so this next one is a letter from a homeowner in town. His property was the one that caught fire on April 1st of 2022, and the water service to the property was flowing, so the CC could not be turned off completely. The Public Works did the best they could to crimp the valve, but there was still some water flowing, and he is asking for our office or the town to reduce his bill on a compassionate ground during this devastating tragedy to his property.
Okay, so what's our responsibility in a situation like that, Dale? The CC was not working?
Either. And Jorgen, at that point, was able to crimp the line down a little bit. We could not find the water meter, and we still haven't found the water meter. It's obviously, excuse me, damaged by the fire. So they got it down to a slow enough flow that was like the best we could do at the time. So when the utilities department was there, what was coming out was estimated at 2 gallons per minute. And that's what the basis of the estimate was used on. Our hydrovac was down, and every day we keep going back to try and see if we could crimp it or locate it or do something different. And then the formal request came in from the homeowner on April 11th in the form of an email, actually requesting the water be shut off, even though we were attempting to shut it off prior. And that was at 4:32 or something p.m. And on the 13th, by 2 o'clock, we already had the hydrovac back and opened it up. Oh, no, we had to rent one. We rented one from your neighbor that lives across the street, Bergen Brothers, and they came and hydrovac'd it for us because we couldn't wait for parts for ours anymore. So we had to farm it out, hire someone to come hydrovac it, and then we shut it off, and it was turned off on the 13th by midday. So a day and a half after he notified us formally. Now, he mentions in his letter that he has sent voice messages, but I don't know about that. It would go upstairs to admin.
So officially what we have is a message from him on April the 11th to turn the water off.
I read this letter today for the first time and then went back to the guys' utilities to get some history for you because you would ask why this in the hydrovac and all that. So it's been Megan's part of the administration end of it, but that's my understanding is that the first formal notification to us to actually turn the water off was on the 11th in the form of an email.
Yeah, and he also emailed utilities on that day as well. So April 11th. And then he did say he called and left a voicemail on April 7th, which was returned. And we did had explained the situation, but the formal email that we said we need to like formally decide what we're going to do with the property, like that he replied back on the 11th. So there was phone calls April 7th or such.
Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
So we haven't had a situation like this since I've been on council. We've had some errors in the past, and I guess traditionally our decision-making has been based on whether the water has flowed through a leaking toilet or in error, or in this case, if there was an inability to crimp off and be able to stop it. The challenge that I see here is that perhaps there might be a gap in our way of dealing with this. If the contact was made on April 7th, perhaps earlier, I mean, I understand that this has already flowed. We've been fairly standard in our response as council. If the water has gone through the meter, then generally the person has to pay for it, regardless whether it's a leaky toilet or in this instance, it's, I mean, this is unusual. My question would be, if the contact was made on April 7th, is it fully appreciated by whoever would have answered the telephone what the implications would be? Because perhaps that may not have been clear to the person that answered the call. If they said, well, you need to write a formal email, et cetera, to be able to forward it, not understanding that the additional days would result in potentially a bill that maybe isn't possible to pay. Regardless, is there a gap in our policy and our way of dealing with this to be able to be a little bit tighter?
And I can comment on that, like, I do know that the utilities, including our clerk, were working to have this water shut off. Like we said, like the CC was damaged, our vac truck was down. We were trying everything we could to get this water flow to be stopped. But
Go ahead, Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Your Worship. One or two things that I noticed here in this discussion and in the letter is, first of all, the water didn't go through the meter. They estimated it based on what they calculated coming out of the pipe. In a situation after a fire, whether the voicemail was made or not made to turn it off, the individual homeowner could not turn it off because even the town couldn't turn it off. So there's no way, in my feelings, that he was able to go into his burnt out home and turn the water off regardless. So I'm very sympathetic in this situation for myself that it's not like the owner neglected a leak that he could have shut off. It's a situation where he lost his home, and due to that loss, even the town couldn't shut off the water for him, and there's no way that he could shut it off.
I guess the big question is, who owns the CC?
The town owns the CC.
And it didn't work.
It did not work.
Okay, that's all I need to know. I mean, we tried everything we could. I mean, eventually when we got things up and rolling, but usually if somebody was to have this type of a tragedy in their life, we would go and turn the water off at the CC. That's our equipment, and it doesn't work. So it failed at that time, and this will come up at the council meeting, and everybody has enough information to be able to vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Next up, CAO Leggett.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is just more of a quick housekeeping item pertaining to the ECDEV committee bylaw. Following our meeting there last week, the mandate of the committee was changed at the request of the ECDEV officer. And the new mandate, this is the committee is to streamline, share information between municipal departments related to economic development activities, as well as to foster partnerships, collaboration with external organizations and business. So the entire intent of this report is to just seek council approval to rewrite that section in the bylaw.
So this is the bylaw that was approved, but we're just gonna add this one paragraph in there just so that, you know, that we know what our mandate is and what direction we're taking this, so. Go ahead, Councillor Barry.
Thank you. Having read the former one that was there, it was out of date anyway. I mean, that was to set up the committee, so it only seems sensible now that it has to be changed.
Okay, go ahead.
Happy to see this moving forward. There's lots of things happening in this area. I'm wondering if there will be an opportunity for, of course, the economic development manager was pre-existing in this portfolio, but I wonder if any of the pre-existing work and or mandate of the former economic development committee would be carried forward. I don't know that there has been discussion or if there's been any carry forward of the work or the strategic plan that was before.
Basically, what we have been doing is trying to in-house, bring everything up to speed with all the departments, and we're all working together, trying to find ways to promote economic development within this organization. So we haven't really looked at what was going on there before. I know there's a lot of reports and stuff that have come out of the last version of this committee, but as far as what their strategic plan was before, we have not looked at that, no.
Okay, and I know that, and I appreciate that you're very busy, and I think it's great that we have a unified approach with economic development. It's entirely appropriate that, for example, infrastructure and planning needs to work hand in glove to be able to achieve our goals as a council and as a community. But I just want to make sure that some of that historical piece with the CARES grant and all of that data, that we worked really hard to get that in place to be able to set the groundwork for a lot of the good things that are happening right now doesn't get lost. So appreciate that this is here and all the good work that you guys are doing.
Okay, so basically, and a lot of that information that was gathered through the CARES grant and stuff like that is site selectors. I know that our economic development manager has put a lot of stuff together in a package that people can, that are site selectors, and he deals with them all the time. And a lot of that information is in there, and it's always referenced back to what was collected there. So as far as what was going on at the time, what the move forward was, I guess we can take a look at that once we get caught up on some of the stuff. We just seem to sit down at these meetings, and there's so many things in the last meeting that we're doing and moving forward with. So I guess that's be one thing we'll put on our agenda on this committee, is to take a look at what the strap was from the last committee. And I know moving forward here, there's all kinds of ideas that we want to implement, so. Okay, so that change in bylaw will come up at the next council meeting. Okay, go ahead,
Yeah, thanks, your worship. I was just advised by the legislative coordinator there. I missed item 9.12, and that's just for, 9.1, and that's for school board meeting agenda item discussions. Council's booked meetings with those respective school boards, and we're just wondering what the topics are so we can put out some communication, let everybody know what to expect.
Well, of course, staffing and being part of our community, the staff. We always ask them that, and they always tell us the same thing. Well, you can't ask us that, but I like asking them, so let's put it on there. They're going to hire them, and a teacher has a role to play in communities, and just parachuting them in all the time doesn't really work for us. So we'll bring it up again.
Hot on the heels of that, in the past when we've met with them, they're not opposed to encouraging local settlement, but we didn't have any of that documentation to be able to share with them. For example, our new residential starts might be something good to share with them, and we also have documents that we could share, because last time we met with them, we didn't have a policy in place for selling our property or any of that promotional material. We had traditional promotional material. I'm not sure that we followed up with them, so that might be nice to be able to not only have on hand, but be able to share the link to be able to add to some of their recruiting that they do with their hiring, because this will be the season that they're hiring teachers, not hiring students, for the upcoming year. So if we can be prepared preemptively to be able to share that with them, we are already doing it. We do a great job of marketing, so maybe we can provide the link to be able to do that. And if I could, also another item that we've talked about is the joint use agreements. I've heard rumblings again from community groups that are having challenges with the cost, and we did have the childcare that is offered through the after-school program at Ale Horton, for example, having to be charged the same rate that they do in the larger city centers, which is a challenge for them to be able to meet those costs, because of course they calculate the costs of the facility here at the same rate that they do in the larger centers, which has traditionally been a challenge for us, because as a small community, we still rely on churches and schools as our gathering places. We don't have a large variety of options to be able to choose. So I'd like to have our joint use agreement back on the conversation, and maybe we need to do a little bit of legwork, including that after-school childcare as one of the examples, because there are other groups that have not been able to operate in the schools because it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah, I guess another one we could take a look at too is snow removal. I mean, we get some calls, yeah, you guys haven't done it, you haven't done it. Well, we did it, and then your contractor put it all back out on the street, and so you want us to come again. I mean, because that didn't work for us very well. And of course, counselors got called, the mayor got called, and it's like, this was done, what happened? So, do we wanna talk about that? Do we wanna have, I mean, we have them on our list, our priority list, and when we get there, we get there. But when they're pushing their own on sidewalks and parking lots of their own and pushing it out onto our facilities, our roads, or we just wanna leave that?
I think what you're, an awareness and an identified, if we're going to be coordinating that, that would be probably in both of our best interests. Because in the past, when they've had issues with parking school buses, or the parking lot at CPC, and they needed to change the parking regulations, we were more than able to change that to be able to accommodate the safety of the school area. We can do that again. I think that's just prudent.
Have we heard anything on their agenda items yet? Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
A week ago.
Was yours, like the SRO on there?
No,
Okay.
It's not their agenda item.
Okay. Well, if anybody has anything else that they wanna bring up, get it to Sandra as quickly as you can. The shared facility or the facility use thing, maybe it's gonna be a bigger issue moving forward here, because the last few years, COVID and stuff, there's been no organized adult sports or like stuff for youth and stuff that people were willing to push forward, but maybe we'll see more of a push now to have more volleyball and leagues and stuff like that, so we should have something straightened out with them on that. Go ahead.
Your worship, according to Sandra's email, it looks like JUPA or /JUA is on their agenda to speak to us, so looks like we'll be talking about joint use.
Okay, perfect. But if anybody else can think of anything they want to bring up, get it to Sandra as quickly as you can. Okay, moving on, CAO Leggett.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this one's for the draft strategic plan. So during March 2022, Mayor, Council, and I met for a two-day intensive session to discuss ideas and priorities for the upcoming term of council. Extensive deliberations were had, resulting in 4 overarching strategic priorities being identified: people and culture, staffing, growth, both community and population, quality of life, and infrastructure. Administration is pleased to present council with the final draft of this important foundational document. Financial implications. The strategic plan is the document that guides spending priorities for the identified term. It sets out where council and administrative focus should be in priority order. Starting in 2023, in the 2023 budget cycle, finance will begin tying strategic plan priorities to individual budget items to create clarity and consistency with the decision-making process. So all of those worksheets that we just went through, we're gonna add a line in there that says this particular project aligns with strategic, plan item 3, whatever that happens to be. The communication strategy, the plan will be posted and distributed through all of the town's electronic avenues, as well as printed and made available for pickup at the front counter of Town Hall. Options at this time: council may, 1, receive the strategic plan as written and direct staff to place it on the next regular council agenda for adoption, or 2, direct staff to amend any areas of the document you feel may warrant further input.
Okay. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Barry.
Reading through it, I thought it was a very well-done document, and I'd like to praise everybody that was working on it, from councillors to yourself to Jameson. It came out really well, and I like it. it's good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Berry. As we'd all sort of agreed in that session, the goal was to be short and sweet, something with some visuals, some good color that was public friendly, and that you know, both the goals and the priorities and then the action items could be readily identified, and we feel it hit the mark as well.
Go ahead, Councillor Riddick.
So I am happy to see this. What I'm wondering is that there's been a move, which I appreciate over time, to have our budget decisions linked to our strategic goals. This almost sounds like priority-based budgeting. Are we getting there, or is this the precursor to that?
That exact topic came up just the other day. So, Director Saskew, maybe I'll defer to you on that one.
I would say this is maybe leading towards priority-based budgeting. Priority-based budgeting is really good, but it's also, council really needs to have their priorities straight. And if we went to a full priority-based budgeting, it really takes the decision-making out of your hands. So I like it as a indicator to you to determine what projects or what other things that you've indicated to us are important. And I think that's an important link, but I don't think we're moving to priority-based budgeting at this point in time quite yet.
Okay, I appreciate the hybrid, and I think at the very beginning stages now of this hybrid version, I think all of council has been moving towards that linking of our decisions to the money that we spend, as well as, for example, if we indicate that people and culture are our most important thing, our staff, then I appreciate that as council, we need to put our money where our mouth is. So happy to see that, and this strategic plan will really be how we lead ourselves in the next few years.
Because I can't go a whole time without opposing something you've said. I'm not going to agree with that statement because they can be our priority, but priorities can be set without automatically being the highest financial commitment. Because there are things that can be done within treatment, review, you know, options. They don't have to equate to money. So while we may put people as priority one, the budget might still be priority one on the infrastructure side, in my opinion.
If I could, Councillor Warwa, I was using the popular phrase, and the put my money where my mouth is certainly does not imply the most money, because I would say I agree with you that really what we need to talk about is our priority in our time and our attention. So we've said as a council that that's our priority, and then we do dedicate our time to that. So I agree.
Good. Oh, good, see?
Hi, Jameson, do you still have Councillor Curtis? My computer just says it's updating, and it's complete. So I don't have him on here anymore, so if you,
Well, we just might as well wrap the meeting up today right now.
yeah, let's shut her down.
I still have Councillor Curtis on mine. I can bring you over my laptop.
Yeah, mine's updating, it's almost started.
Yeah, that could take a while.
To go. Okay, the only problem that I had with the whole document here, and I really thought it was good and stuff, but on this last page, when we're showing council and everything, I would like to put the councillors in seniority. Not alphabetically, if you don't mind.
Can you define seniority for me?
So, like, what I don't want is the two ladies at the very end, and I know alphabetically they go there, but it doesn't look right to me. So if we can just go to a different rule, and we'll put them in seniority, and then you can use alphabetically if they're both tied.
Absolutely.
Okay.
How correct of you.
Oh, that just doesn't look right. Nobody puts the ladies at the back. Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Is it better when we sandwich the mayor between us?
You gotta have the mayor in between the ladies. That's what it's gotta be.
Oh boy, this is fun.
I saw all of a sudden it just go to 0 and turn.
That's good. That's good. Right? Oh. So we'll bring it back as amended at the next meeting.
Yeah, for sure, to bring it back, and that's our direction to admin. Again, very well done. I haven't heard anybody that was upset about it, although Councillor Curtis could be, but it's now they can't get a hold of him here.
Yeah. Well, and thanks in return to you guys. That was a fun exercise. So glad I could be a part of that.
Excellent. Okay, so up next, what do we have? Oh, the Royal Canadian Legion is mine. Guess I put that one away already. Okay, so I received a letter from the Royal Canadian Legion, the service officer Rhonda Haydick, and it's Dear Mayor and Council, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 39 Vegreville will be observing Declaration Day with a ceremony at the Field of Honor in Riverside Cemetery on Sunday, June the 12th at 1 p.m. The ceremony will honor our veterans who are buried at Riverside. We'll also acknowledge those who are buried in other area cemeteries. And I don't know if you guys know it, the Legion goes to the local cemeteries around here, and they find all the people that were in service, and they put a small Canadian flag on all those graves in the surrounding cemeteries around here. And there's not a lot of people, a lot of Legions still do this Declaration Day thing, so we got to give them credit for what they do and a lot of work that they put into it. So anyway, we're all invited to attend. There will be a parade walking in from the gates, the entrance into the cemetery, and there'll be a lunch at the Legion Hall after the ceremony. So please let Rhonda know. I know I've confirmed that I'm going, but if anybody else would like to attend so they can get a count for the lunch, just let Sandra know. All right. And the next one that I have is a letter from the town of Mundare to Minister Shando regarding the provincial police, and we'll read this, or we'll bring it up at the council meeting, but it's just another municipality saying they're against the provincial police, and I don't know why the province keeps rolling along with this, but I guess we'll find out. And then we have another one from the town of Coaldale regarding increasing fees, and they think the province should step in and stop any utility fees from rising. I don't know if they can actually do that. Anybody know that? Can the government of Alberta stop utility companies from raising fees?
They could have not privatized 15, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Too late.
Yeah, well, maybe they could, because there was a lot of money that was given to these utility companies just to stop using coal. There was billions and billions paid out to them. I wonder how that happened. I don't know. Go ahead, Jameson.
Your Worship, can I get you to unmute and show yourself on the screen? Mine was muted and I forgot to do that, so Councillor Curtis assumes you're ignoring him.
Oh, you're using your mouse
Oh.
over here.
I can assist if need be, but I just received an email.
There. Well, hopefully he can hear us now. Sorry, we had a little confusion going on here. My computer decided it would do an update in the middle, so. Can you hear? Okay.
Oh, yeah, his volume's off. Oh, it's not on at all.
It's totally muted, because I don't want to interrupt you guys.
No, it's not muted anymore.
Yeah, your speaker is. It's your speaker, not your, right there. Hit that.
I can hear everything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so both those letters, those last two letters we brought up at the council meeting for receive and file. If anybody wants to take any action towards either one of those causes, then write a letter. We've talked about it a few times when it came to the province chasing this provincial police force, and but if not, that's fine too. Okay, so we'll have a roundtable discussion, and we'll start with Councillor Lemko.
Hey, Your Worship, I have a couple items. It was brought to my attention yesterday that regarding Alberta supports, they're still closed to the public and by appointment only. And a number of individuals are going to get documents photocopied or printed off at the library. So something maybe we want to ask our MLA tomorrow in our meeting regarding that service that they said should be open to the public. Secondly, I'd like to inquire our speed signs, like the ones that sit on poles in our community. Are they going up soon? I haven't seen it in town for a while.
Yes, they were actually moved Monday or today. They were on 857 by RGV, and they were out on Highway 16A, and they've been taken down. Municipal enforcement is downloading all the speed data, and then I believe they're going on Maple Street and 47th Street Playground.
Thank you. Someone inquired and asked me if we were selling any of the dirt from the Prosperity Park. I have no idea what to say. I don't. So I thought I'd bring it up here today. So.
We're working on a plan on that.
Okay. So a wheelbarrow dirt won't. No, I'm just no. I just said it was inquiry to me, and I just said I'd ask. And then I've had a number of citizens come to me regarding, and I mentioned they've come to you guys as well, regarding the potholes at the entrance to our famous Pasanka Park. And I don't know what to say. We'll fill them up as best we can for now, and then proceed with eventually fixing that road. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one item actually is to bring forward is get my order here. May 30th to June 3rd is the Rural Health Week. And our committee for doctor retention, I'll shorten it up, has asked me if I would coordinate with the town to get a proclamation for that week, but they would like to see if we couldn't organize and put together a joint proclamation for the town and the county to bring and recognize rural health. They have some signage that we could use in terms of saying we keep healthcare close to home, rural health matters. They have a bit of a sample of a proclamation that they have written, but we would rewrite it, of course. And they have a poster on Alberta Rural Health Week. It would be nice if we could try to organize some of our own pictures into this somehow, to make it if we were posting it onto our own social media and such, if we could make it more personal in town. So I was wondering if, being not capable of doing it myself, if I could approach the staff and maybe we could organize to try and put together a bit of information to go on our websites and such and get a proclamation put together to declare May 30th to June 3rd Rural Health Week. And then from that, we want to continue to try and recognize our health workers and the importance of them in these times. So if I could maybe, would it be better to contact, say, maybe through Sandra?
At the county? Was there a county representative at this meeting?
There is, but there was asked if I could if we could put together the proclamation and some of the information and such, and then contact them.
What council member from the county was on that committee?
Tara.
I'd ask Tara if they'd have any interest in it first.
I think that they would have an interest. It's a matter of drafting a proclamation that is a joint proclamation and then getting it declared. I would assume that it would be nice if one of their members could be here in your presence, Your Worship, as you jointly sign off the proclamation.
We've done these things in the past, nothing to it.
I know. I'm really not, I could draft it, I could bring it to you. It would not look like it was a professional one done by the town.
You can leave that information with Jameson when it comes to this. It's not on our list of proclamations right now, is it? Is this a new, there's one for every day of the week, I know that, 365 of them, but.
You're not wrong, and given the fact I've only been here a year, this is definitely something that we did not do last year. But I can't speak to anything beyond that, and I'm sure we can find a way to get it done. And typically what we do when we have a proclamation proclaimed is we'll issue a bit of a press release, offer some background, and really try to localize the story, and we can do all of that as well.
It'd be greatly appreciated, because I think we need to emphasize the importance of rural health. Thank you.
So we'll make the proclamation with a spot for the Reeve and a spot for the mayor, and then we'll move forward. And how will we get some pictures of some local? See what you can come up with. Maybe ask Councilor Rudick. She always has good ideas here.
I think that maybe one aspect I think that would be very good is if we could get down and get a picture of a number of the doctors, much like the mock-up picture that they have here. If we could put something together there, if we could get some staff pictures or something, maybe at the hospital, if we could just try and see if we can get something. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And it's entirely up to council, but we only use the photo from last year's gathering where the sign was across from the hospital one time, and that included several members of the local health team. I feel like it'd be a fitting place to recycle that photo without busying the doctors, and again tooting our own horn about what took place there.
Yeah, and maybe talk to Councilor Cusio. Maybe you guys could put a couple of. What's the date of this proclamation?
Well, the week is May 30th to June.
Oh, so it's right away.
So we have a couple of weeks to.
Well, if you and Councilor Cusio could come up with some pictures or whatever, you could make something work. You're both on a couple of different committees together, right? Hospital and the Doctor Professional Retention Committee. Is she on that too?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
We don't need a lot of pictures. It's just a matter of trying to put something together here. And I'll talk with Jameson after the meeting here, and we'll try and get something organized if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you. What else you got? Okay. Councilor Bullock.
Okay, actually, for myself, I'm not going to repeat some of the things that Councilor Lemko said, because I've heard a couple of the same things. On the positive side, though, I've heard some people at the park on the weekend commenting on how nice our park was. And there was a good comment, wasn't made towards me, I just heard people going by saying what a wonderful playground they have across the river in that area. And they said that as they seen it from all our lumberjack beavers cleaning off the river wall there, all those trees off, so you can actually see everything over there, so it's actually pretty good. And generally, people are happy with the nice weather. I also heard a comment about street sweeping. People were happy with that. So some good stuff this week. So let's go positive here for a while.
Great. Councilor Curtis.
Sure, yeah, I'd just like to echo what, I'm glad Councilor Lemko brought up about Alberta supports. I think it's very important for us to keep pushing that for MLA to get that service level back to what it was pre-pandemic. Just a couple of things from our VTAB meeting, the community garage sale coming up June 18th. So there's at least 11 people registered as of yesterday, and then 3 were registered for at the Wally Fadoon Arena. So if anybody still wants to be part of that, go to Vegreville.com. As well, you can go to Vegreville.com and the community gardens, the plots just east of the Homestead Lodge there. I think the 19 of the 20 on the ground are sold, and there's a few raised beds left. So you can hop on the website and grab a plot and see if you have a green thumb for the season. So that's my update.
Thank you very much. Councilor Warwick.
So I just have a couple. One, of course, is our pothole favorite subject. And I'm not sure if this area is fully ours, but we were brought up just in front of the school out by the Comp and St. Mary's, that the roads entering both sides, but particularly St. Mary's was quite rough in that area. So I just want to bring that one up. I do have one addition to the Alberta supports. I'm sorry, no two councillors have spoke to it, but you know, I've heard a few things on it, and I think the thing that's really important to note there is you've heard us say a number of times that we have been supporting through our FCSS services that should be through Alberta supports. I'm very thankful to the FCSS for providing some updates, but they were able to provide the FCSS mandate that is mandated under the Family and Community Services Act, actually specifically says within the mandate that FCSS is not to duplicate services that are ordinarily provided by government or a government agency. And that's been the big problem that we obviously have been speaking to, and something that we'll bring forward tomorrow. And on the flip side, we've also been able to get the mandate for Alberta supports, which very specifically says that it is also to provide financial support to simplify and enhance services for low-income and vulnerable Albertans. So I guess the point that I wanted to bring on this is our understanding right now is that according to the Alberta support regulations, in-person meetings or assistance will only be provided by a supervisor in the case of extreme barriers. Clients may book appointments to use the phone or computer at the office, but the workers are not allowed to assist in any applications. So that's what I would like to bring forward to the MLA tomorrow, just to ask for clarification, as she has assisted before in trying to get us information. We don't know if she is aware that this is what's happening, but they need to know that at this point they're still coming to our FCSS because their only extreme cases are in person, and so we're actually violating a mandate that's put forward by the province. The other thing is that in the past there was an Alberta Supports Coordinator position that took on the role of assisting community members in all aspects, including items like computers and job searches, resumes, faxes, and other assistance. And the understanding right now is that this role appears to be eliminated in the Vegreville office. So I think these are two really important things to bring forward for discussion. So those were two. And then one other I want to speak about is a quick about an initiative. So I want to speak to you a little bit about youth mental health. I think that when we're hearing kids that are playing in playgrounds, or we're seeing them playing sports, sometimes it's hard. We look at our kids that are about to graduate, and we don't necessarily think of them as being somebody that would be struggling with mental health. But youth and mental health is an extreme crisis, and it's one that we have definitely seen face additional challenges during COVID-19. So I wanted to share a couple of stats with you. Over 38% of youth say that their mental health has declined due to COVID. 1 in 5 youth are reporting moderate to severe anxiety. 1 in 5 youth say they have been feeling lonely. Almost 1 in 5 say that they've increased drinking more alcohol, with 14% of individuals between 18 and 34 having increased their consumption of cannabis. 4% of youth have tried to harm themselves, and 10% of youth have said they've had suicidal thoughts. So I'm going to repeat that last one because it really struck me with the 10% of youth have said they have had suicidal thoughts. If you look at youth, it goes beyond these numbers, but even just the amount of kids that would be in our St. Mary's and the Veg Comp, that could potentially mean that there could potentially be 50 students in those two schools right now that could say that they've had suicidal thoughts, which is obviously a crisis that we should certainly take very, very serious. So on June 14th of last year, 2021, our community lost a young man who was 18 years old. He was attending our local school, he was working in a local business, and his family is very active in the community. Through this tragedy, his family and friends have taken every possible step to raise awareness on youth mental health. And I just wanted to share with everyone today that they created a fund. It's called the Cody Sharoon Memorial Youth Subsidy Fund. And it's within the Way to Wellness Fund, which is to ensure that all youth that may be in need of counseling can get counseling assistance and funding towards that, regardless of what their financial circumstances may be. So anybody that is looking for more information on this, they can go through the Wellness Fund through the Cornerstone Community Counseling Society website, and I'd encourage everyone to share this information. Right now, the flyer to it is on my town councillor page, and I did ask family permission to share it before I had shared it on my page, and they said certainly anyone can share it that has information on it, so please do go ahead and do so. And we just need to do more to bring awareness. So again, you'll see the flyer, and if anybody wants more information about it, they specifically are providing through that fund counseling subsidies for youth that are available through the memorial funds. So that's everything.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Riddick?
I just want to comment, I appreciate very much the Sharoon family taking this tragic loss and putting it to a positive step moving forward, because it's definitely something that all of those kids and their families are still dealing with. And if you go to the parking lot at school, it's still very evident that Cody's on everybody's collective memory. So hopefully other families will take good use of this support. What I wanted to bring forward is Valid has done an extensive renovation on their community day program room. I sit on that board as a volunteer, as a community member, and they are having their grand opening on Thursday, and I know that when we're doing our tour, so next Thursday. And I believe the mayor was invited for the ribbon cutting during the course of the day, but I actually am extending the invitation to the rest of council. So if we're able to take a brief reprieve through our very busy, hectic schedule, going through all of our facilities, just to zip in and have some eyes on the facility. This is one of the oldest facilities that's been in operation in the province. It's a great addition to our community when we talk about being welcome and inclusive. The services and the support that Valid provides to families and individuals with exceptional needs is tremendous. And so if I can just extend that invitation to council, and I'll coordinate that with our capable staff that are making our wild tour throughout town. I'm not sure even who I would address that to, but probably Sandra and team. And I also wanted to just address the fact that we've got a council tour that day as well. We've got coffee with the council member and story time at the library sort of coinciding. So because of that, perhaps that day may not work, or maybe it does. I'm not sure. So if we can have a definitive answer whether or not that might work for us to be able to include the library in our tour. I know that we had some discussion about that last time, about who ultimately is responsible for the facility and the costs. It cannot be denied that that facility is a very important feature in the community, and as council, perhaps we include it in the tour or not, but I need to be able to provide that answer to our library manager, because people are excited to have us there. Maybe not the kids for the story time, but the walking group is looking forward to that. And the last thing I wanted to say is compliments to the Vegreville and Area Stands with Ukraine Committee. We welcomed a Ukrainian family to Vegreville just the other night, so it's been a bit of a wild ride. Just for people's information, the Kowal family found out very suddenly that Samaritan's Purse, that a lot of people may have been familiar with. Our kids did this for many years through the local schools. The Operation Shoebox is a lot of kids over the years make a Christmas package for kids in need around the world in developing countries. That plane was deployed to Poland with medical supplies, and it was empty on the way back. So it was basically a military supply plane that had space for less than 50 passengers, and the Kowal family were contacted, and their family of 5 were able to be accommodated on that flight. And in a flurry of organization, we're able to get them from Toronto to Edmonton to Vegreville safely here. And just as a piece of information, Roman Kowal, the husband's Guido, was my husband Andrew's Guido's brother. And so there is a family connection. But the community has already, it makes my hair stand on end, and it is absolutely overwhelming how generous the community is. So mind-blowing. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you very much. So, I don't know if we can make, what time is the coffee with the counselor at the
It is, story time is usually 10:30 to 11-ish, and then the chatter afterwards is, 11 to 11:30. It could be tweaked a little bit, but that's usually what it is.
And at Valet, the ribbon cutting is at what time?
The ribbon cutting is, I believe, sorry, just one second here. Ribbon cutting is at noon. I think there might be an update on that on Thursday, May 26th. Is that the time that you have, Sandra? Sorry, for the mayor's calendar as well, on May 26th?
She doesn't handle my calendar.
Oh, pardon me. Your worship, is that the time that you have in the calendar?
2 o'clock?
No. I have a ribbon cutting at noon on Thursday, May 26th, because the open house for the new CAS room is from noon till 4, and the ribbon cutting is at noon.
Well, we would like to stop our tour and be there for noon, but are they providing a lunch?
Well, there's cake, coffee, and juice, so that won't quite fill the need, I
But
don't
I
think.
think that we were gonna go for lunch, all of us were gonna go together for lunch, and any questions of what we had seen so far. So I don't know if we can fit the library in the morning and make that work, because they've got everything else has been arranged for it. But I'm sure that on our way to lunch, that we could stop in and cut the ribbon at Valet.
Okay.
And congratulate them, take a look at the updates and stuff they've done there, and I told the president that I would be there. So we could all stop in on our way, that'll be fine, and we'll try to see where we can fit the library in later in the day, but I don't think, everything else has been arranged for the morning, I don't think we can make that work.
Okay, that sounds great. I will RSVP to both of those. And in the absence of coffee with the council member, perhaps there might be another town staff that would be available who is not involved in the tour. So I will let Donna know and plan accordingly.
Okay. So, well, thank everybody for what you do, and we've heard a lot of positive comments in the community. It is that time that everybody's out in their yards, and I know that we're gonna have a really very attractive town like we normally do, and we just need to let everybody know that it's appreciated what they do and everybody does in their yard. Regarding Councillor Lemko's comment on the what he's heard about the potholes and stuff, and again, that'll have to be prioritized in the budget again. I mean, we've looked at it, we've been there, and it's not a lot we can do. I know that Public Works will probably look at something there, but something that will not last, and it's probably not gonna be very good, so, but we'll take a look at that. Other than that, I like your comment about, would we sell any black dirt? What? Oh, job site down there, oh my God, it's amazing what's going on down there. People are phoning me, what is happening? I'm like, what is happening? Where have you been? But it's all moving forward right now, and we're all happy about that. I'd just like to bring up about tomorrow night's pierogi supper with Vegreville area stands with Ukraine, and I know that they cut off the date is for ordering pierogies was yesterday, I do believe. But there will be a silent auction going on there too for those that are eating in or people that are taking it out, and there may be an opportunity to buy some frozen food. It all depends on how much sells, so everybody stay tuned for that. So and good on them. This is their first big fundraiser, and like I said, this problem in the situation in Ukraine is not going to go away anytime soon. So we'll be doing lots of fundraisers in this community. So that's what I got. So let's move on to the director's highlights, and we'll start with Director Saskia.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will keep this short and sweet. So our tax notices were mailed on May 11th. What I wanted to bring up is a discussion regarding land titles delays. So we're going to do a post probably early June saying if you purchased a house between January and June of 2022, likely land titles hasn't processed your new purchase yet. So the way that it works is we cannot change anything for a tax notice until we get confirmation from land titles that the sale actually occurred. So a lot of these times, especially if a house was signed up for e-billing, the property tax notice may be in the previous owner's inbox. So it's going to be really prudent for people to contact us if they don't receive their notice in their mailbox before the end of June to not obtain penalties. So we are going to do a little bit of public education piece about that because we really don't want people to miss out on paying their property tax. Most times when you purchase a house this time of the year, the buyer is responsible for the property taxes for June, and the seller gives them credit for the months that they were in the house. So that's something that'll be coming up and ongoing. And then other than that, I don't have anything.
Hey, could you reach out to the local real estate companies too, and let them know about this situation? And for them, I think it would just be a service for them to get a hold of their customers that they had bought houses or used them, let them know that there could be a hiccup, that they should contact the town.
That's a very good idea.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Sorry. I wonder if it's possible to maybe to add that. I know there's a lot of things on the agenda for tomorrow with the MLA, but land titles is popping up again and again in a few different systems, circumstances that are a bit of a challenge for us. Is that not something that we can talk about? Because this is an across the province issue. Everybody's selling houses, and if we're talking about growth and encouraging growth, it's leading to these very real impacts for people and municipalities.
We certainly could. I think it would be fun. So we'll go from there.
Fun or fun?
Fun.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Rowe.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will try and keep it short and sweet as well. We're entering a very busy season in my departments. First of all, I'd like to thank the fire department for doing a bunch of controlled burns around the park and in the riverbank and getting rid of the hazards. And thank heavens that we could collaborate with the beavers this winter and spring to create that open concept design that council was looking for at the park. Speaking of the parks, so the Kinsman Park, the playground is officially finished, other than a little bit of landscaping area that we have to wait for some sod. And the Foxview playground has been installed. And tomorrow and Thursday, they will, the Parks Department will be installing the wood chips to finish it off. And would council like to have an official reopening next week of the playgrounds?
Will the BMX park be done and stuff over there?
No, not yet. Like, that's gonna be a summer project. That's gonna take a while. So just the official playgrounds, which were part of that MSP grant, are now, will be completed. So I just wanted to know if council wanted to do an official reopening of them.
Sure. You're going to go down the slide?
I don't think there's any will here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go.
No, it doesn't look good. No, I guess we don't.
Okay, I'll arrange something. Just wanted to know.
Okay, then, I'll give him,
I'm
Councilor Curtis, yeah, he wants to do it for sure.
okay. So we have quite a few employment ads out there filling a bunch of vacant spots in departments. So people interested in work. And I will be meeting with the RC Racers Group next week to discuss what they have for plans in the future. And so, yeah, it's busy and full steam ahead right now.
So with the RC Racers, we haven't really committed to anything there.
No.
Right? We don't know what they're.
No, we're just, I'm waiting now for their plan to what they can do. And like I say, we gave them some potential options. And now it's up to them to basically decide like how this can be built, funded, maintained, all of that. It would, so.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a quick question. I know that it has been shared a few times on social media, but are all portions of the pool operational at this time?
No. The the hot tub is fixed. The water slide should be done either tomorrow or Thursday. They're waiting for a float part, which is what the problem was. The float in the tank was inoperable, and what it will do is, instead of putting water into the hot tub, it'll put all the water that's circulating through the filter system into the pool and overflow the pool. So that's why the water slide is, sorry, not the hot tub, this water slide. That is shut down, and the part is ordered. It's supposed to be installed this week. So as soon as it's done, we'll have that on social media that it's up and running. But the hot tub is fixed.
Is there any chance we order 2 of those floats?
They're pretty expensive, but I could.
Float is expensive? You don't have an old Javex bottle? How much are we talking here?
I think
This is not the first time this part's gone down there.
They last about 7 to 8 years, I think I was told. And
Maybe it was the motor that went in that.
no, yeah, the motor in the hot tub is what went previously, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Director Lefebvre, what do you got?
Thank you, Your Worship. Are you alive?
You've got nothing.
I got something. I have some good news. Alberta Recycling Management Authority made an announcement that they're once again expanding their e-waste pilot program. That's where we'd mentioned it to council probably a year ago, that the town of Vegreville joined up with a pilot program where they take anything from your household, anything that could plug in, anything that runs on batteries, which is really helping out landfill for sure. And now they've extended it to residential use, household use batteries, whether they be rechargeable or single use. So currently what we've been doing is we've been packaging them up, which we'd still have to do, but we were shipping them, and we were paying for the shipping to get them to the manufacturer in Eastern Canada. And the cost was, we were budgeting about $1,500 a year. And last year we shipped 1.25 metric ton. The program now will run the same as all the electronics. We still have to prep them, tape off the ends so they can't touch each other, and package them a certain way. But now it's looking at, they'll qualify the program at the $155 a ton. So that'd be like $250 compared to $1,500. So that's a big step forward for us. It's still an pilot program, but it's seeing a lot of success and getting a lot of praise for the program. So we're happy to have that come around. Council did also ask a couple of meetings ago that we discussed. I mean, it was Councilor Rudick had brought up the infills in our community, residential infills, and then we had talked about R1, R2, R3, and what does that mean? Are we currently set up to allow someone to come in and build something like that? So most of the north, or most of the south side of town is R1, and a good portion of the north side is R2. That's just the way it is, been zoned. So R1, the permitted use is a single family home. A discretionary use, which means you have to advertise and ask your neighbors and things if this could happen, and there's some avenues to follow, would be a secondary suite. So in an R1, you can have a single family residence, and the most you could increase its usage by population is to have a certified basement suite, basically, okay? Now, if we go to R2, the permitted use is single family homes. Discretionary use is duplex, ground-orientated multiple units, and secondary units as well. So R2 is where infills can have these types of builds, where you can get more high-density population in, because the land use bylaw is already allowing as a discretionary use the duplex, and then it goes multi-oriented units. So it means it's not just 2 or 3; it's whatever works, whatever fits. So that's where the big opportunities are, and we do have. I think 2 lots now for sure on the south side that would fall into that. And then of course R3 is a full permitted duplex, ground-oriented multiple units, and discretionary is single family homes. So it kind of flips the other way then. So I just wanted to get council that information so that we knew. I know it was asked for. Any questions?
She appreciates it.
Thank you, Director Lefebvre. Do we have this listed on our town available properties? So if it's privately owned, of course not, but do we also have the information about lots that we own, that we've assumed through tax forfeiture,
as part of our inventory in terms of,
Well, it may say on the listing that it may be district as R1 or R2, but no definition of what that means, I would assume, right?
That is correct. And like, I think you're getting at having it advertised, like on our website, what lots are available. Like right now, I think most of what we have is properties that are available within town. It says contact your local realtor owned by town of Vegreville. We could definitely put a listing together so that it's available,
We actually have a listing now.
but like on our website.
Oh, no, we just put a listing together for the new Economic Development Committee. And we're putting some plans in place, so everybody just hold on, there's no sense reinventing the wheel. We're moving forward with some of this.
Okay, well, you guys would know about the R1, R2, R3 and how that pertains to your,
I already knew about it, Dale. I knew exactly where you were going with this.
okay. Good. No other questions? Then we'll move on to our compost rollout, big rollout. Just did. It was completed last week. We have about 225 homes that don't have rear lanes that have front garbage pickup and front recycling pickup. We sent out information pamphlets basically to each and every one of those homes at different occasions twice last year, right to the door. We had it on social media. I don't know, we have it in Municipal Scoop, Jameson? At Municipal Scoop too. Anyways, as of budget time, we had 66 people respond to the quick survey. It was a very one answer question and your address is all it was. So it was easy. We had 66 respond that they would like a rollout for compost. By the way, their package, we wanted to increase a little bit, so we ordered 108. Since we've dropped them out in the community and the neighbors see their neighbors have one, we've handed out another 20. So there's 22 left in stock. So if you're watching this and you want a compost bin, you'll have to contact Public Works and get one, and talk to Municipal Services while you're there. Just ask for the compost bin. All of them know what to get you. Because when these are out, we'll have to wait till next year. We can budget for some more. But please contact us and we'll put your name down on the list and get you on for next year. So that program worked out well. And the last one is the highway sweeping of the highway. We've swept off the sidewalks. The town has swept off the sidewalks to push it onto the street yesterday. And then the sweeper will start at 4 in the morning and be doing Highway 16A and Highway 857, both north and south ends. I know that MCON was providing this service in the past, and last year they were unable to do it because of budget reasons. So we picked up the cost of doing it. And then this year again, they're not going to be able to fund us, we're being told. And I talked to Alberta Transportation contract supervised maintenance supervisor, as well as we've been in touch with MCON. So the town will go sweep it for a second time. We used to bill it out back to them previous, or they would hire a contractor that would do it. And then that's the first big cleanup of the year we'd agreed on, where they're dropping all the salt and sand down. Then after that initial clean was done, then the town would maintain the highway and 857 for the remainder of the year. So it's the first one that we're not being reimbursed for anymore, but we have to do it. If we don't do it, the next big rain's coming, goes right down to the storm system and fills our storm pipes up with sand. So it's not a point of we're gonna point fingers forever and see who's paying who. It has to be picked up, and that's where we're at.
So we brought this up with our MLA last year in our meeting, and she said she was gonna get back to us, and she didn't. So I think that this would be something that we'd like to talk to her again about. That would be good. Perfect. Don't worry, we can get a lot done in half an hour.
Okay, and just to add to that, the relationship that the town has working with MCON on a field level is a good relationship. This is higher up and has nothing to do with the relationship between the town staff and the MCON employees. We're all doing just fine.
Yeah, and it still comes down to the citizens of Vegreville on property taxes paying something that the province is supposed to. So, I mean, we just can't keep downloading services onto property tax. There was only a small pool that we have, so. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next up, CAO highlights.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just speaking to the action items sheet here, happy to note that a few more items have been noted off as complete. Item 38, just to remind council that, yeah, the tour dates have been set for the 26th there, and we do have a jam-packed day already set for that. We'll try and accommodate these other couple of requests if we can, but it's looking like it's going to be a long day as it is. And then the only other last one I'd like to speak to is I'm just in discussions with Dr. Moore here right now, and it looks like we'll be doing the last round of the org review interviews on the 31st. That's the earliest date he can do them here. So that's it for me.
Okay. So basically, where are we at here? Upcoming events, so tomorrow, we have the meeting with MLA Armstrong Hominick, and then those that are going to be at this pierogi supper, and those have ordered, hopefully everybody's got an order in.
Is there a program? Like, are you bringing readings or?
No one said a word, they didn't.
Okay.
I asked if they want me to help to do anything, and they said, no, they don't think so, so obviously they're not impressed with what I do, so. But I'm going there anyway. So it'll, yeah, so, and also coming up, what else we got going on here? Look at the, well, FCM is coming up. Victoria Day is May the 23rd. We're closed for the whole day, so please don't try to, the landfill's closed too?
It's closed on stat holidays.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, if that's it, there's no other business of council, I will call this meeting adjourned at 5:51.